2 p.m., Jiangxing High School Indoor Combat Arena. The 50,000-seat spectator stand was packed to capacity, and people crowded onto the aisles and steps. Major martial arts clans, martial arts gym masters, chamber of commerce representatives, military delegates, and university recruitment teams from across Jiangxing were all in attendance. Seated in the center of the main rostrum was a middle-aged man in a dark blue Martial Administration Bureau uniform. Golden sword insignia glinted coldly on his shoulder boards. Zhou Yan, director of the Jiangxing Martial Administration Bureau, a Grand Master with a Qi blood value exceeding 100,000. His individual combat power was equivalent to half of Jiangxing's entire martial arts community. Fewer than 10 people in the whole southern Sichuan province could stand against him in direct combat. I now declare the start of the Jiangxing Martial Arts Examination Top 16 duels. Zhou Yan's voice was not loud, yet it rang clearly in every ear. On the arena, fists and feet show no mercy. Life and death are accepted outcomes. A contestant loses by surrendering, being knocked down, or being ruled unfit to continue fighting by the referee. He paused, his sharp gaze sweeping across the 16 examinees. Weapons and strikes hold no mercy. Having chosen the martial path, you must embrace the resolve to face death. A warrior would rather die standing than live on one's knees. Such was the fate of warriors. On the battlefield, even if you knelt and begged for mercy, demons and ferocious beasts from the abyss would tear your body apart without hesitation, feeding on your fear and devouring your soul. Now, the draw for the first round match-ups begins. A holographic screen lit up. 16 names scrolled rapidly and paired off. 3 seconds later, the display froze. Match 1. Chu Yin Jiangxing High School versus Chu Hao Jiangxing High School. Boom. The whole venue erupted. A brother versus brother clash. What a dramatic draw. Rank 1 against rank 8. That's a massive gap. The Chu family's luck is just terrible, clashing in the very first round. In the VIP viewing section reserved for the Chu family. Go Hao Hao. Chu Xiaoman shot to her feet, waving a glow stick she had somehow gotten hold of. Victory to brother Hao. Show that good. 4. Nothing who the true genius of the Chu family is. Chu Cece held up her phone, aiming the camera at the arena. Her livestream title already read, Brother Hao beats the worthless eldest brother live. Lu Qingwan clutched her handkerchief tightly, undisguised worry on her face. Tianxiong, could Hao Hao be in danger? Mother, why would you think that? Chu Xiaoman cut her off. Chu Yin must have gotten lucky and used some underhanded trick. Hao Hao earned his strength through genuine training. He'll knock Chu Yun flat in a few moves. Chu Cece nodded repeatedly. Exactly. Brother Hao is only 10 points behind. Mother, why build up the opponent and dampen our own side? Come on everyone. Flood the comments with encouragement. Chu Tianxiong said nothing. His brows were furrowed as he stared toward the arena. His wife and daughters did not understand what a perfect practical combat score truly meant, but as gym master, he knew better. Luck could not explain that result. His original plan had been to place Chu Hao in the lower half of the bracket, letting him avoid Chu Yun for the first 2 rounds so he could build momentum and confidence. Yet after learning the projected draw results, Chu Hao had insisted on facing Chu Yun in the opening round. He had stayed silent for a long time before finally agreeing. Up on the rostrum, Zhou Yin glanced at the match sheet, a faint smirk tugging at his lips. Chu Yun and Chu Hao blood brothers? He turned his head toward Principal Duan sitting beside him. No, Principal Duan leaned over and bowed respectfully. Chu Yun is Chu Tianxiong's biological son. Chu Hao is an adopted son. However, word is that Chu Yun severed ties with the Chu family a few days ago. Severed ties? Zhou Yin raised an eyebrow. So this amounts to settling family scores in public? I dare not guess at the intentions behind it, Principal Duan answered cautiously. Zhou Yin dropped the subject and looked over Chu Yun's file. Interesting. A discarded family outcast who had, within days, turned into a dark horse examinee with full practical combat marks. A carefully cultivated family genius burning to settle old scores right there on the arena floor. This drama was far more entertaining than the petty infighting inside the Martial Arts Association. About this Chu Yun, Zhou Yin spoke again. Have you double-checked his Qi blood readings? We have, Director Zhou. Principal Duan replied promptly. Equipment functioned normally. The data is authentic. He likely entered the Azure Nether secret realm and obtained an opportunity to purify his physique and marrow. Zhou Yin offered no confirmation or denial. His eyes fell on the note reading Practical Combat. 200 points, with the addendum, equipment damage during assessment. The data is misleading. Zhou Yin tossed the folder aside. Chu Tianxiong is quite the schemer. He puts his adopted son in the spotlight to draw attention, while his biological son is the real hidden trump card. Principal Duan. Why, yes, Director Zhou. Principal Duan answered hastily. Jiangxing High School has produced 2 examinees with perfect practical combat scores this year. Zhou Yin's tone remained calm. How many years has it been since Jiangxing saw talents of this caliber? Principal Duan's heart skipped a beat. A broad smile spread across his face. All thanks to your leadership, Director Zhou. The Martial Administration Bureau has prioritized foundational training these years. Our school merely carried out your directives. Enough. Zhou Yin shifted his gaze away. Spare me the formal praise. With 2 perfect scores, your due merit as principal is assured. Principal Duan's heart raced. I've heard. Zhou Yin picked up his teacup, speaking casually as though making small talk. There will be a deputy director opening in the Education Bureau in the second half of the year. Principal Duan's pupils constricted sharply. Director Zhou, are you implying? I imply nothing. Zhou Yin blew across the tea surface. Merely an offhand remark. He took a sip and set down the cup. Watch the match. Principal Duan sank back into his seat, lines creasing his face. His gaze locked onto Chu Yun. This boy would be my greatest stroke of fortune this year. On the arena floor, Chu Yun stood on the east side, looking unruffled, hands tucked in his trouser pockets. Facing him, Chu Hao held his head high with a faint smile playing on his lips. Brother, I never expected you would make it this far. Chu Yun looked at him without reply. Chu Hao took one step forward. I have actually always envied you. Locked in a basement for 18 years, with no proper teacher or support, relying entirely on yourself, you climbed from 1.3 all the way to 13.6. Do you know? Father sat alone in his study for a very long time last night. He was wondering whether he had misjudged you, wondering if the resources once meant for you ought to be redistributed. Chu Hao smiled. But I want none of that. In an instant, his warm, seeming smile turned cold and menacing. Too much talk. Chu Yun spoke at last. Finished your final remarks? Ha! Chu Hao laughed in bitter fury. I hope your body is as tough as your tongue. He stepped back with his right foot, lowering his center of gravity. The muscles in his legs bulged. He assumed the starting stance of the mountain, splitting kick. The referee stood between them, raising one arm high before slicing it downward. Match start. Match start. Chu Hao roared. His right foot slammed hard against the alloy arena floor. The metal cracked, spreading a spider web of fractures in an instant. His figure blurred across the 10-meter distance. In the blink of an eye, he closed in. His right leg howled through the air like a battle axe, aimed straight at Chu Yun's face. Mountain, splitting kick, second form, earth shatter. He held nothing back. He intended to shatter Chu Yun's chest with this single strike. The kick moved far faster than one would expect for 13.6 chi blood. From Chu Yun's sharp warrior level senses, the abnormality within Chu Hao was crystal clear. A violent, unstable power erupted from deep inside his dantian. Chi, blood reading. 20 points, 30 points, still climbing. He took stimulants. A cold glint flashed in Chu Yun's eyes. Originally, he had planned to unleash his full 525-point chi blood in an instant and blast Chu Hao into a bloody mist with one punch. Arena rules permitted life or death outcomes. Nevertheless, over the past decade, very few examinees had actually died during the Jiangxing martial arts examination. If mortal danger arose, either the referee or Zhou Yin possessed enough power and authority to intervene. A warrior's state of mind demanded unobstructed resolve. If he struck with full force yet failed to kill Chu Yun instantly and got stopped mid-attack, it would harm his martial heart. Countless thoughts raced through his mind in a split second. A far more complete plan took shape. Why dirty my own hands to destroy him? Chu Hao's bone-shattering kick was already upon him. Chu Yun moved. No block, no counter, strike. He only tilted his body sideways by an almost imperceptible margin. The fierce kick, wind brushed past his nose and cheek, blowing his fringe backward. Chu Hao's kick met nothing but empty air. Unleashed power produced a visible shock, wave ring in mid-air. Instead of pressing the attack immediately, he hopped lightly and landed steadily. Nice dodge. Chu Hao shook his right leg, growing accustomed to the artificially amplified power flooding his body. A feverish look crossed his face. If I finish you off in one blow, the show will be far too short. Chu Yun brushed imaginary dust off his school uniform, his tone flat. Didn't eat? Weak kick. Chu Hao's feverish expression twisted. His eyes burned with wild rage. You seek death. He surged forward even faster than before. Spinning like a top, His left leg swept horizontally toward Chu Yun's waist. Mountain, splitting kick, fourth form, mountain sweep. Chu Yun tapped his toe on the ground, drifting backward half a meter like a falling leaf, evading the blow once again. 2 consecutive misses stoked Chu Hao's ferocity. A storm of kicks erupted, sealing off every possible evasion route around Chu Yun. To ordinary spectators, only blurred movement and howling gusts could be seen. Chu Yun's figure seemed to sway amid the tempest, as though torn apart at any second. Yet to Chu Yun's warrior, grade dynamic vision and mental perception, Chu Hao's furious assaults moved as slowly as an elderly citizen practicing Tai Chi in a park. He deliberately held back his own speed. His footwork appeared somewhat awkward and disorganized, putting on a show of being driven to the brink. In the VIP stands. Great. Go Hao Hao. Chu Xiaoman jumped to her feet. Hit him. Hit him. Dominance from Brother Hao. Chu Cece kept her phone trained on the arena. Everyone can see this. That useless guy cannot even land a single counter attack. Lu Qingwan's frown softened. She could not follow every detail, yet it certainly looked as if Chu Hao held complete dominance, and Chu Yun had no chance to retaliate. Mother, I told you Brother Hao could do this. Chu Xiaoman turned toward her. He will end this within 3 moves. Lu Qingwan nodded, a faint smile finally appearing on her face. Only Chu Tianxiong sat silent in the middle seat, his gaze locked rigidly on the supposedly hard, pressed figure on the arena. Up on the rostrum, Zhou Yan's observational skill was peerless. Chu Hao's abnormally surging qi, blood burned as obvious as a torch in the dark. Power, boosting forbidden medicine, and quite potent at that. Zhou Yan understood well. In more than 10 years supervising martial arts examinations, he had seen no shortage of fools chasing quick power through crooked means. Still, he had not expected Chu Tianxiong's favored adopted son to resort to such measures. Most of his attention remained fixed on Chu Yun. He narrowly avoids every strike, putting on a convincing act of peril, yet his performance is too obvious. Zhou Yan sipped his tea. A warrior ought to show sharp resolve. To toy with an opponent like this speaks of superficial temperament. Still, his mastery over battle rhythm and footwork are genuine accomplishments. Truly intriguing. Setting down his teacup, he picked up his internal communicator. Referee at Platform 1, listen closely. No matter what unfolds on the arena from this point onward, do not intervene. I will step in personally if intervention becomes necessary. Understood, sir. He ended the call, leaned back in his chair, and folded his hands over his abdomen, his gaze deep and thoughtful. He wanted to see just how many hidden cards this young man, named Chu Yun, possessed. On the arena floor, Chu Hao's relentless attacks pushed the medicinal effect inside him toward its absolute peak. Like an enraged dragon long confined, the power craved release and destruction. 80 points, 90 points, 95 points. Boom. An invisible threshold shattered under the surging force. 100 points. Crashing chi, blood pressure burst forth from Chu Hao's body. He had reached the warrior realm. Admittedly a false realm forced open by drugs, with unstable, erratic energy, yet the oppressive aura belonging to a higher tier of human power was completely real. Sharp-eyed spectators caught the change. Warrior realm. Has Chu Hao broken through to warrior? Was he hiding his true strength all along? Chu Yun is finished. A warrior versus a non-warrior means total dominance. Chu Hao halted his assault, drinking in the overwhelming power flowing through him. He fell prey to an illusion of standing above all others. To hell with the martial arts exam. To hell with my future prospects. To hell with the Chu family. In that moment, he cared for nothing except taking the life of the man standing before him. He wanted to grind him into dirt and crush him to dust, wiping out his very existence. Still trying to dodge? Chu Hao's eyes blazed crimson. Let me see you dodge this kick. He drew a deep breath, his chest heaving. All his chi, blood flooded violently into his right leg. Muscles swelled visibly beneath the skin, covered by a faint crimson glow. Mountain, splitting kick finishing move. 10,000, Rin Mountain Cleave. Chu Yun raised an eyebrow. This is your trump card. The words had barely left his mouth when chi, blood pressure comparable to Chu Hao's, exploded outward from Chu Yun. 100-point chi blood. Warrior realm. Faced with 10,000, Rin Mountain Cleave, capable of piercing alloy steel plates, Chu Yun merely lifted his left arm and held it up in defense. Boom. The moment limb met limb, a thunderous crash shook everyone present. Shock. Waves exploded outward from the two fighters, rattling the energy barriers surrounding the arena violently. Chu Yun did not budge an inch, rooted solid as a mountain. By contrast, Chu Hao felt as though he had kicked against a wall cast from forged iron. Recoil surged up his leg bones, churning his internal energy. He staggered backward 4 or 5 steps before regaining balance. What? Chu Yun is also a warrior. He was hiding his real strength this whole time. Good heavens. Both young men are warriors. Chu Hao lifted his head slowly. He watched as even more solid, stable chi, blood rose from Chu Yun's frame. Pure, genuine warrior, realm power, without flaw. You also? Chu Hao's lips trembled. Did you also inject? That had to be it. There was no other explanation. How could the good for nothing Chu Yun jump from 1.3 to 13.6 within days in ace practical combat? How could he suddenly unleash 100-point warrior, level chi blood? He must have used similar enhancement agents. Perhaps even higher, grade, harder, to detect once, allowing such precise power control. Xiongba. A thought flashed through Chu Hao's mind. His eyes widened. Was it you who killed Xiongba? Chu Yun lowered his arm, a faint smirk tugging at his mouth. Yes. 2 light words, functioning like a poison, tipped dagger stabbing deep into Chu Hao's self. Respect. Neither confirmation nor denial. Pure provocation. What's wrong? Chu Yun took 1 step forward. His voice stayed calm, yet every word cut deep. Now that you know my true strength, have you lost the courage to fight? Don't come any closer. Thread by thread, the strings holding Chu Hao's sanity snapped. He bit down hard on a special false molar housing high-grade genetic enhancement agent, described by Zhou Haixing as vastly more powerful, yet carrying unknown side effects. Crack. He bit through the container. Power 10 times more ferocious than before burst forth without restraint. Dark, red energy waves billowed out of Chu Hao, out of control. 200 points. 300 points. 400 points. Finally, the reading froze at a number that sent chills across the entire audience. 499 points. Barely short of the threshold for Master Warrior. 499 points. Good heavens. Is Chu Hao even human? That aura is terrifying. I can barely breathe. Higher than Lu Qingxue. The Chu family is about to produce a true powerhouse. In the VIP viewing stand, Chu Xiaoman and Chu Cece jumped for joy. Incredible, brother Hao. Lu Qingwan stared in shock before bursting into delight. Go Hao Hao. Chu Tianxiong shot abruptly to his feet, his face drained of color. Something was terribly wrong. This is by no means hiding one's strength, let alone a breakthrough in the heat of battle. This is taking a forbidden pill that forcibly stimulates blood energy. How dare Hao do this? On the martial arts exam arena, right under director Zhou Yan's nose, Chu Tianxiong felt a surge of chill go straight from the soles of his feet to the top of his head. On the arena. You forced me. Chu Hao's voice was hoarse, and the blood vessels in his eyes were nearly bursting. You forced me. Feeling the violent blood energy pressure from his opponent, Chu Yun remained calm. Secretly connecting with the Qingming Jade Talisman, he quietly adjusted his own blood energy to 499 points. An equally formidable, yet more concentrated aura rose, standing ground against Chu Hao's frenzy. He sighed softly. Could you not do this? You're making me look like the villain. Chu Yun, go to hell. Chu Hao roared low. The absolute power brought by 499 points of blood energy made him abandon all technique. He charged at Chu Yun like a wild beast driven mad. Boom, boom, boom. He threw himself forward, fists, feet, elbows, and knees. Every part of his body turned into a lethal weapon. His offense erupted like a volcano and swept like a tsunami, striking relentlessly at Chu Yun. Every attack carried immense force capable of shattering rock, constantly blasting the air with series of booms. Chu Hao launched a heavy sweeping kick toward his waist, but Chu Yun advanced instead of retreating. Crouching swiftly, he let the leg's shadow narrowly pass over his head, simultaneously sweeping his leg toward Chu Hao's left ankle. Chu Hao roared, stomping off the ground and taking to the air, descending with an axe, like leg strike. Chu Yun crossed his arms to block. With a loud bang, he took the kick head-on. The alloy floor beneath his feet cracked instantly. Before Chu Hao could regain his balance upon landing, he lunged forward, trying to wrap his arms around Chu Yun's waist. Combined with the brute strength of 499 points of blood energy, it was enough to crush steel. Chu Yun's gaze turned cold. Sinking his hips and locking his stance, he slammed into Chu Hao's chest with a fierce shoulder strike. Thud! The dull impact sounded like a heavy drum. Chu Hao was hit so hard his blood energy churned, forcing him back several steps. Chu Yun constantly monitored Chu Hao's physical condition. Right now, his opponent had reached his limit, with fine cracks spreading through the meridians inside his body. At this rate, within a minute, Chu Hao's body would no longer hold out and could collapse at any second. Is this all you've got? Did you take some cheap knockoff? Even when given a chance, you're useless. Chu Hao went completely wild, with only one belief left in his mind. Defeat the person in front of him. Down with you. He let out a mad roar, his eyes blood red. His body shot out like a cannonball, his right foot kicking directly at Chu Yun's chest. With this kick, the air was compressed to the extreme. However, right when his attack reached its peak and his power was about to burst out entirely, his charging figure abruptly stalled, like a high-speed train suddenly stripped of all power. Thud! Unable to control his momentum, Chu Hao was carried forward by inertia and crashed awkwardly onto the ground 3 or 4 meters in front of Chu Yun, tumbling twice before coming to a stop. Ugh, the time. The next instant, an indescribable wave of severe pain exploded from deep within his body. He curled up on the ground, twitching violently. The 499 points of blood energy inside him dissipated like receding tides. His forcefully widened meridians began to fracture inch by inch under the shockwave of the backlash. Spurt Chu Hao spat out a large mouthful of blood mixed with dark red residue and strange black fragments. Backlash. This was the exact moment Chu Yun had been waiting for. From the moment he saw through Chu Hao's use of the forbidden drug, he had planned everything. He knew his younger brother all too well, paranoid, frantic, and leaving no room for retreat. Since he chose the crooked path of taking drugs, there was no way he only prepared one portion. All Chu Yun had to do was step by step, precisely push Chu Hao to the brink, forcing him to show all his hidden cards. Then, all he had to do was watch and wait for him to be dragged into the abyss of self-destruction by that hollow power. Chu Yun lowered his head slightly, watching the struggling Chu Hao, and delivered the final blow. What a pity. Just one move away. Just one move away. These words acted like the final straw, completely shattering whatever remaining consciousness Chu Hao had left. No, I still can. Using the last bit of his strength, Chu Hao struggled to climb back up. The moment he exerted force, a fiercer backlash struck, causing him to spit out another mouthful of blood and nearly faint. Match over. The referee's figure quickly inserted between the two, announcing loudly, "Contestant Chu Hao has lost the ability to fight. The winner is Chu Yun." No, I didn't lose. Like a dying man experiencing a sudden surge of vitality before the end, Chu Hao abruptly scrambled up. "Chu Yun, you coward. You loser. You only deserve to be stepped on by me forever. Forever." Chu Hao's mind completely collapsed. Extreme anger, humiliation, and unwillingness, catalyzed by the residual drug inside his body, began to resonate with a deeper power. An ominous, alien energy secretly surged forth. Sizzle, sizzle. Wisps of dark, sinister mist burst uncontrollably out of Chu Hao's 7 orifices without warning. Wherever the dark mist passed, even light seemed to be swallowed up. Arga! Chu Hao's body began to swell and distort unnaturally, with creepy, squirming dark patterns emerging across his skin surface. The whites and pupils of his eyes were entirely overtaken by deep darkness. Abyssal demonic energy. In front of everyone, he had transformed into a demon. The entire arena fell dead silent. Chu Hao turned out to be an undercover agent of the abyssal demon race. Did things get out of hand? For the first time, a serious expression appeared on Chu Yun's face. His eyes were tightly locked on the surging and expanding dark entity ahead. That terrifying aura, seemingly ready to devour all vitality, hit his senses like invisible waves. Before this, he had only felt simulated monster auras generated by AI in practical exam simulations. Compared to the true demonic energy coming from the foreign abyss in front of him, it was like comparing a firefly to the full moon. An unfamiliar warning of danger welled up in his heart. Fall back. The referee flashed in front of Chu Yun, his expression graver than ever before. Clearly, he was a veteran who had truly entered the abyssal battlefield and fought against the demon race, reacting far more intensely to the demonic energy than Chu Yun. Almost at the exact same moment, a deep blue figure stepped out, as if directly from empty space. Appearing in the center of the arena without warning, standing right between the expanding entity and Chu Yun. Zhou Yan. He merely raised his right hand, fingers naturally extended, and gently pressed down toward the madly squirming entity. A pressure so heavy that it froze the air in the entire venue crashed down. The power of a grandmaster, suppressing the abyssal creature with a single palm strike. Poof! A soft sound resonated. Chu Hao, who was on the verge of completing his transformation, was utterly erased by Zhou Yan's seemingly effortless palm strike. Instantly annihilated. On the arena, only a pool of foul, smelling dark blood remained. proving something had once existed there. Zhou Yin slowly pulled his hand back, standing with hands behind his back. His eyes calmly swept over the crowd before landing on the referee. Announced the result. The referee snapped back to his senses and shouted with all his strength. Contestant Chu Hao practiced demonic arts, fell into darkness, and betrayed humanity. His crimes are grave. He has been executed on the spot by Director Zhou. The winner of this match is Chu Yun from Jiangxing High School. The frozen roar of the crowd exploded once more. Demonic arts? Chu Hao was on the dark path. No wonder he was so strong. He took an evil shortcut. Director Zhou's divine power, destroying a demon with one palm. How terrifying. An abyssal agent actually sneaked into the martial arts exam. Chu Yun is so lucky, isn't he? He almost died. All the shock melted away under Director Zhou's awe-inspiring strike, turning completely into humanity's shared resolve against the demons, as well as endless, heartfelt reverence for Zhou Yan. All the shock, fear, confusion, and lingering dread found an outlet under Zhou Yan's powerful strike. It turned entirely into a unified fight against the demon race and admiration for Zhou Yan's unfathomable strength. Chu Hao? Who cared about Chu Hao anymore? He, along with everything from his past, was completely defined by the four words, abyssal demon agent. Zhou Yan slowly turned his gaze onto Chu Yun. Their eyes met calmly in the air. Zhou Yan's eyes were as deep as an ancient well, seemingly able to see the deepest secrets of a person's heart. He clearly saw that in this young man's eyes, there was no relief from surviving a disaster, no fear of facing a demonic creature, and not even the joy of winning the match. There was only a deep, bottomless composure. Could it be? This kid predicted Chu Hao would reach this point all along? Did he even calculate that I would step in? He had included this duel, along with himself as a grandmaster, as pieces on his chessboard. You knew all along that Chu Hao would transform into a demon. Zhou Yan opened his mouth to say. I didn't. Meeting his gaze, Chu Yan looked candid and shook his head. I only forced him to overdraw that power of unknown origin. I thought his best outcome would be shattered meridians and a ruined martial path. The worst outcome would be nothing more than reversed blood energy, causing him to explode. Transforming was indeed beyond my expectation. In front of a grandmaster, the wisest choice was to speak the truth. He calculated the backlash Chu Hao would suffer from the drug, and even predicted Zhou Yan might step in at the last moment. But he truly didn't expect Chu Hao to fall into demonic transformation at the end, mainly because it exceeded his knowledge. His understanding of the abyssal demon race was still limited to textbooks. As the old saying goes, knowledge gained from books is shallow. True understanding comes from practice. However, this incident served as a lesson for him. Next time he faces an enemy, he should eliminate them directly if possible, showing no mercy whatsoever. Zhou Yan looked deeply at Chu Yun. With his discernment and experience, he could naturally tell the truth of those words. Yet precisely because the youth spoke the truth, it showed how terrifyingly calm his mind was, calculating to such an extent, cold as ice. Truly a fearless young calf. He said no more, turning around to leave. Director Zhou. Chu Yun's voice suddenly came from behind him. Zhou Yan paused slightly. What is it? According to Article 68 of the Dragon Nation Abyssal Demon Race Disposal Regulations, any Dragon Nation citizen who reports or assists in capturing an abyssal demon intruder shall be awarded accordingly by the Martial Administration Bureau based on the threat level and contribution after verification. He paused briefly, his eyes sweeping over the dark red bloodstain on the arena before looking back at Zhou Yan. Chu Hao transformed publicly with irrefutable evidence. As his direct opponent, forcing him to reveal his true colors should count as assisting in the elimination, right? Zhou Yan went silent. He looked at Chu Yun, an indescribable flicker passing through his eyes. This kid used his hands to eliminate a future threat after a fight, won the match, and now dared to reach out his hand to demand a reward right in front of the entire audience from him. The director of the Martial Administration Bureau? What nerve! Though he wasn't wrong. Zhou Yan suddenly felt that the biggest gain from the Jiangxing martial arts exam this time wasn't the girl with the ice soul body from the Liu family, but the youth in front of him who possessed an overly calculating mind. You're quite interesting, kid. Zhou Yan showed a look of appreciation. Verification confirmed. Threat level, grade C, upper tier. Given the public nature of the transformation and its bad influence, the evaluation is raised by 1 rank. Final evaluation, threat level, grade C, high tier. Reward, 1 million Dragon Nation dollars in cash. 100 merit points. Later, someone from the Martial Administration Bureau will contact you to handle the procedures. The prize money will be transferred directly to your citizen account, and the merit points will be recorded in your citizen information terminal. Having said that, he stayed no longer and stepped forward. His figure was already back at the high VIP platform, sitting down composedly. Notify the Marshall Administration Bureau to thoroughly investigate the Chu family and everyone who has had contact with Chu Hao, Zhou Yin said softly. Focus the search on where the gene potion that triggered the transformation came from. Yes, Director. The secretary responded solemnly and immediately turned to convey the order. Discussions broke out among the audience once again. 1 million. Did Chu Yun get a blessing in disguise? Exposing a demon agent, this contribution deserves a reward. Chu Yun is rich now, and he's only 18. VIP stand. Chu Xiaoman and Chu Qiani sat collapsed in their chairs like two puppets that lost their souls. Eyes blank and faces pale. Lu Qingwan fainted directly in her seat, unconscious. Chu Tianxiong stood frozen, his face as gray as death, looking as if he had aged more than 20 years in an instant. Looking at the empty arena, only endless despair and confusion remained in his eyes. Everything was ruined. Not only was 18 years of effort wasted, but the entire Chu family was finished as well. Although Chu Tianxiong did not participate in it, as long as it involved the abyssal demon race, it meant becoming an enemy to all humanity. He couldn't shoulder this charge, and the Chu family couldn't shoulder it either. The only ending awaiting him was liquidation by the Marshall Administration Bureau. Standing on the arena, Chu Yun listened to the clamor of discussions about demons, prize money, and Zhou Yan's power from all directions. Lowering his eyelids slightly, defeating the opponent, destroying their spirit, and clearing the aftermath. Killing multiple birds with one stone. Plus 1 million in prize money and 100 merit points. Chu Hao, your end wasn't entirely in vain. This outcome turned out cleaner and faster than expected. Waiting area. Lu Qingshue's eyes had been fixed on him all along, her cold eyes shining with deeper curiosity than before. While others were inevitably drawn to Chu Hao's transformation, she was the only one whose gaze hadn't shifted from Chu Yun for a single second. 499 points of blood energy. She felt the same blood energy value on Chu Yun as Chu Hao possessed, connecting this to how the youth acted completely unbothered back at the coffee shop. Her memory of the encounter in the Qingming realm surfaced again. She reached a conclusion in her heart. He did it on purpose. He was playing dumb. Lu Qingshue's cheeks turned completely red, while the competitive drive in her heart was ignited. She recalled the scene by the basketball court yesterday afternoon. Chu Yun's final congratulatory words, 220, for is indeed quite impressive. At that time, she had accepted it casually, thinking he still had no chance of reaching the top 3 in the city, and that accepting her proposal was his best option. She had even felt a little annoyed after being rejected twice. Gosh, how embarrassing. Embarrassing to the extreme. Lu Qingxue felt both shy and flustered, feeling so awkward she could curl up right there. Returning to the rest area, in less than 5 minutes, a middle-aged man in a Marshall Administration Bureau uniform walked over quickly. Student Chu Yun, is it convenient to talk over here? Chu Yun nodded, following him to a corner compartment in the rest area. I am Li Jianai from the Logistics Department of the Marshall Administration Bureau. Director Zhou asked me to process your reward distribution. Li Jianai sat down beside Chu Yun, pulled out a tablet from his briefcase, operated it quickly for a moment, and turned the screen toward Chu Yun. 1 million Dragon Nation dollars in prize money can be transferred right now. Please confirm your citizen account information. Chu Yun glanced at his identity information on the screen and shook his head. I don't have a bank card. This was the truth. When he left the Chu family, the secondary card from the family had long been deactivated. He originally intended to apply for his own bank card after the martial arts exam, not expecting the reward money to arrive so quickly. Then I can only issue you a check. Li Jianai was clearly experienced with such situations. He pulled out a checkbook from the inner layer of his briefcase, quickly filled out a few lines, tore it off, and handed it over. Dragon Nation Bank Bearer Cash Check, redeemable nationwide. I suggest you open a new bank card as soon as possible. Electronic payment is everywhere now. Few people use cash. Chu Yun took the check and looked at the numbers. 1 million.00. There wasn't much emotion in his heart. He realized he was growing detached from simple material value. Though he wasn't worried, once he spent the money, he'd be grounded again. Next are the merit points. 100 points. This thing is worth way more than cash, but you need to register a Dragon Martial Mall account first. Li Jianai opened the Dragon Martial Mall app on the tablet, its icon featuring a cross shield and sword. Registration requires verification of student status at a martial arts university or registered military personnel. Director Zhou mentioned that with your strength, getting into Kyoto Martial Arts University is already set in stone, so we're making an exception to grant you early access. Chuyin took the tablet. The screen displayed a clean mall interface with clear categories: martial arts, cultivation methods, weapons, armor, pills, materials. He tapped into the martial arts category. Yellow, grade upper, tier step techniques, 80 points. Proficient, grade lower, tier martial arts, 300 to 500 points. Proficient, grade mid, tier, 800 to 1,200 points. Proficient, grade upper, tier, starting at 2,000 points. There was no sight of earth, grade items, likely requiring higher authorization to unlock. Did you bring your phone? I'll download one for you too, Li Jianai asked. Chuyin reached into his pocket and pulled out a brand new Xiaomi phone. He had bought it at a communication shop downstairs when checking into the hotel 2 days ago. Merit points are internal credits for the Dragon Martial Mall, not directly tied to Dragon Nation dollars, but they can be converted one way. Operating the phone, Li Jianai explained. Look here, 1 merit point converts to 10,000 Dragon Nation dollars, but nobody does that unless their family urgently needs money. Merit points are too hard to earn. I must say, Student Chu's luck is truly amazing. Chuyin continued browsing the recommended items list. Yellow, grade upper, tier martial art, wind chasing steps, 80 merit points. Proficient, grade lower, tier pill, nourishing foundation pill, pack of 3, 150 merit points. Standard spirit alloy longsword, 200 merit points. His gaze fell on an entry under the pills elixirs category. High, grade chi, blood potion, 100 merit points. This item fetched at least 2 million on the open market, yet here it cost only 100 merit points. Li Jianai seemed to notice his shock. Every supply in the Dragon Martial Mall is priced with state subsidies. It's a special benefit for martial art seeds and service members. Give the finest resources to the strongest, so they may grow even more powerful and guard the most dangerous battlefields. Your 100 merit points can get you quite a few good things. Realizing this, Chuyin suddenly asked, are there any cultivation techniques that boost mental power? Li Jianai froze and looked up at him. Mental power? You want to walk the path of the thought weaver? Not exactly. Chuyin shook his head. I just think sleeping every day is a waste of time. If I can raise my mental power, I can sleep less and spend more time cultivating. No matter how overpowered the ascension stairway was, it only functioned while he was awake. Sleeping 4 hours each day meant 240 years of potential progress wasted. Do not dismiss those 240 years. Every little bit adds up. 4 hours a day amounted to 240 years. Over 100 days, that added up to 2,400 years. Li Jianai's expression turned odd. He had met many prodigies, all outstandingly hard, working alongside their natural gifts. Still, he had never heard anyone say sleeping is a waste of time. Even martial artists had greater stamina than ordinary folk. One might go days or a month without rest, but no one could go an entire year without sleep. Still, since Chuyin had asked, he answered truthfully. The kind of technique you want does exist. Li Jianai nodded, his tone growing serious. They are internal cultivation methods known as contemplation arts. They temper the soul instead of building chi blood. When mastered to great heights, mental power condenses into tangible form and can be projected outward to harm foes. It is somewhat similar to chi, blood pressure, yet far more sophisticated. Chuyun's eyes lit up. He immediately searched the Dragon Martial Mall for contemplation art. Search results, 0. Why are there none? Chuyin frowned. Is my access level too low? That is not it. Li Jianai gave a bitter smile. Contemplation arts are extremely rare. Even the most basic yellow, grade contemplation art starts at 10,000 merit points on the market. Supply cannot meet demand. Every copy that appears gets snatched up instantly. 10,000. Chuyun's voice rose slightly. Good grief. That would mean slaying 100 foes like Chu Hao, and you still had to hope a copy was available. Director Zhou tried to buy one for his son. He waited 3 years and never laid eyes on a single copy. Li Jianai spread his hands. Now you understand how precious these things are. Chuyin fell silent. If even a grand master of Zhou Yan's standing struggled to obtain a contemplation art, its value far exceeded what he had imagined. Why not print more copies? Encrypted digital distribution would work too. Li Jianai shook his head and joked. You have stumped me there. You would have to ask Director Zhou. Perhaps he has the answer. He clapped Chuyin on the shoulder. Do not lose heart. Your martial arts journey stretches far ahead. There is no need to rush. Chuyin nodded and put away his phone. Very well. I have told you everything I need to. Li Jianai gathered his things. Finally, I wish you, student Chu Yun, flourishing martial arts and smooth fortunes. Thank you, brotherly. Chu Yun watched Li Jianai leave, then sat on the bench, tapping his knee with his fingertips. Contemplation art. 10,000 merit points. Equivalent to 100 million Longwa credits. And that was only for the lowest, rank yellow, grade variant. What of black, grade, earth, grade, and heaven grade versions? Obtaining one would likely prove harder than clearing a small, scale abyss secret realm. Yet precisely for that reason, he had to get one. Something fought over even by grand masters could not be trivial. Earning merit points had become an urgent priority. First, claim the top rank in the martial arts exam. The top 16 arena tournament resumed. Shock from Chu Hao's demonic transformation faded amid successive matches. Audience discussions shifted away from Demon Spy toward upcoming bouts. The VIP section belonging to the Chu family stood empty. Reportedly, Chu Tianxiong had been taken away by martial arts administration personnel for questioning. Lu Qingwan, Chu Xiaoman, and Chu Cece had also been brought in for inquiry. Every Chu family martial arts gym across Jiangxing was sealed on the spot. All students and coaches underwent registration and screening. Word of these events spread like an undercurrent through Jiangxing's entire martial arts circle. Arena staff quickly cleaned the fighting platform and recalibrated the energy barrier. Round 2, the quarter-finals. Chu Yun's opponent was a seeded competitor from Guangyi High School with a Qi blood reading of 21.7, ranked third among the top 16. The youth stepped onto the arena brimming with fighting spirit, striking an open and grand starting stance. He even shouted toward Chu Yun, "I will not fear you just because you defeated a demon, transformed foe." Chu Yun nodded. A single 8, extremity-crushing fist landed square on his opponent's abdomen. Force was measured perfectly. The youth's eyes rolled back, and he crumpled limply onto the platform. The whole exchange lasted no more than 3 seconds. As the referee declared Chu Yun victorious, staff carried the unconscious competitor offstage. On the other side, Lu Qingxue advanced with equally overwhelming momentum. Her 224 Qi blood reading delivered dimensional realm suppression for competitions at Jiangxing's level. Neither of her two opponents lasted 10 seconds. After round 2, 16 competitors were whittled down to 4. The semi-finalists: Chu Yun, Lu Qingxue, Su Dajiang, Zhou Ziheng. Upper bracket: Chu Yun versus Su Dajiang. Lower bracket: Lu Qingxue versus Zhou Ziheng. First semi-final match: Chu Yun versus Su Dajiang. Chu Yun rose from the resting area and walked toward the arena. He had barely stepped onto the platform's edge when a round-bodied figure charged forward with speed completely at odds with his build. Brother Chu. Su Dajiang pulled out his phone, eyes crinkling into slits as he grinned, looking every bit like a laughing Buddha. "Can we take a photo together?" Chu Yun stared, bewildered. What was this about? "You are my idol." Su Dajiang's eyes sparkled. "Do you not know? You are the hottest name in Jiangxing, even across Chuan, Nan province. Novels are being written about you. Brother Chu, you are blowing up all over Jiangxing, the whole of Chuan, Nan province." Before Chu Yun could respond, Su Dajiang held his phone up in front of them both and snapped a photo. "Clips of your fight against Chu Hao are circulating everywhere. 50 million views, 800,000 likes. Haven't you seen?" Su Dajiang rattled off the numbers. Top scholar in arts subjects, perfect practical score, defeating a demon, transformed adopted brother. Even fiction would hardly dare write such a plot. Chu Yun truly had no idea. On his new phone, he had only installed WeChat-style messaging software, with 0 entertainment applications. Back in the resting zone, he had been poring over goods in the Dragon Martial Mall, completely unaware he had gone viral. And one more thing. Su Dajiang pulled a black permanent marker from his pocket. "Sign this, right on my uniform." He pointed at his brand, new white martial arts uniform. Chu Yun, would this never end? He stared at the marker for 2 seconds before taking it. In bold, flowing script he wrote, "Chu Yun," across Su Dajiang's stomach. "Thank you, Brother Chu." Su Dajiang clutched the signature reverently and lowered his voice. "Now that you have signed it, you cannot hit me. Do not hurt your fan." Chu Yun's mouth twitched. The referee finally stepped in and pulled Su Dajiang away. "Enough. Return to your position. The match is about to start." Returning to the arena center, the referee raised his hand and chopped it downwards. "Match start. I forfeit." Su Dajiang shouted even faster than the referee. Chu Yun stumbled, nearly losing his balance. Boos erupted across the stands. What is this? Surrender without fighting. Is he even a martial artist? Disgraceful. Fatty. Did you come here just to play for laughs? Su Dajiang ignored the jeers and walked off the platform with a cheerful smile. Chu Yun caught sight of Su Dajiang sneakily unlocking his phone. The screen displayed an underground betting interface. Wager. Chu Yun victory. 1 million Longwa credits. Confirmed. Wager. Su Dajiang immediately surrenders at match start. 1 million Longwa credits. Odds 1.8. Projected payout. 800,000 Longwa credits. Chu Yun. Su Dajiang noticed his gaze, quickly locked his phone, and gave an awkward laugh. Hee, just earning some pocket money. Chu Yun found the situation absurd. He had risked life and limb exposing a demon spy only to receive a 1 million credit reward. This chubby youth earned 800,000 just by calling a surrender. It was faster than robbing a bank. Will bookmakers even accept such wagers? Chu Yun asked. Sure they will. Su Dajiang kept his voice low. Competitor immediate surrender is a classic underground betting market every year, though few normally place large bets. I went heavy this time. The bookies must be fuming. Chu Yun glanced at him. Su Dajiang scratched his head and smiled. My family runs a small import-export business for martial arts supplies. Hey brother Chu, add my WeChat. Come to me anytime you need something. I will give you cost price. Beep. Su Dajiang scanned the QR code and successfully sent a friend request. The two returned together to the resting zone. Second semi-final match, Lu Qingxue versus Zhou Ziheng. Zhou Ziheng was Nanli High School's sole remaining competitor, with 19.8 Qi, blood, ranked 4th among the top 16. To advance out of the talent-packed Nanli School proved his overall ability far exceeded what his Qi blood reading suggested. Yet the gap remained too great. Before Zhou Ziheng could even yell surrender, ice spikes from Lu Qingxue froze his ankles solid, holding him immobile. Countless crystal ice flowers bloomed around the arena. Frost spread outward from Lu Qingxue, coating the alloy floor in a transparent, thin sheet of ice. Ice, Soul Jade Bone Art. This was the first time she had displayed this heaven-grade technique in tournament combat. Terrified, Zhou Ziheng nearly lost composure and shouted at once, I forfeit. I forfeit. Lu Qingxue's gaze stayed cold. Paying him no heed, she walked straight off the platform. As she passed Chu Yun, she deliberately slowed her steps. Chu Yun had been hunched over his phone researching contemplation arts when a chill washed over him. He looked up and met Lu Qingxue's eyes. He offered a polite nod and smile, then returned to his phone. Lu Qingxue retained her ice, queen composure, and walked away. Seated nearby, Su Dajiang's eyes darted back and forth between Chu Yun and Lu Qingxue's retreating figure. He sensed unspoken drama hanging in the air. Did something go on between these two? On the arena, Zhou Ziheng was close to panicking. What was going on? He had already surrendered, so why leave him encased in ice? The referee sighed and shattered the ice shell with one punch. The semi-finals concluded. The martial arts exams championship final was set. Chu Yun and Lu Qingxue stood head and shoulders above all other competitors. Like two sharp cleavers, they had sliced cleanly through their respective brackets. The audience had moved from initial shock to numbness, and now burned with anticipation. Everyone knew the true showdown was this single final match. Final match, Chu Yun versus Lu Qingxue. The announcement boomed across the stadium. 50,000 spectators roared like crashing ocean waves. Who would have guessed the final would pit Chu Yun against Lu Qingxue? No one would have believed it 2 days ago. Chu Yun's 499 Qi blood should give him absolute dominance. Not so fast. Goddess Lu possesses the ice, soul divine physique. Did everyone see that earlier? She froze foes with one move. Right? Battles are not decided by Qi blood alone. Martial skills and combat awareness count for plenty. Amidst the buzz of discussion, Chu Yun and Lu Qingxue stepped onto the arena simultaneously. Every camera swiveled toward the central platform. Spotlights poured down like stage follow, lights for leading performers. Chu Yun ascended the eastern steps with steady strides. Lu Qingxue climbed from the west, dressed in white, her high ponytail swaying gently. They halted 10 meters apart in the arena's center. Lu Qingxue wore a white top and dark, blue trousers, her hair tied in a high ponytail. Without ornament or makeup, her beauty still drew gasps from the whole stadium. Yet Chu Yun noticed something off about her expression. It was neither the calm resolve nor fighting excitement expected before a decisive bout. Her cheeks were faintly flushed, lips pressed into a thin line, and her eyes held tangled, unreadable emotion. Chu Yun pondered and thought he understood. She had not expected him to reach the final, throwing all her prior plans into disarray. As for concealing his true strength, he saw no need to explain. Winning first place was his sole priority right now. Chu Yun. Lu Qingxue steadied her roiling inner feelings. Let us make a side wager. Having already guessed where this was going, Chu Yun raised a hand to stop her. I really have no interest. Are you so confident you will win? Lu Qingxue stared straight into his eyes. Provocation will not work on me. Chu Yun shook his head. Lu Qingxue compressed her lips and flipped her wrist. A palm-sized jade slip appeared in her grasp. Its surface felt warm and smooth like congealed fat, carved all over with fine, ancient patterns. Beneath stadium lights it gave off faint silver luminescence, and the air around it felt subtly lighter. It was no illusion. The instant the jade slip appeared, the mental power field across the whole arena resonated faintly. Mysterious, grade upper, tier contemplation art, prison, ceiling contemplation. Lu Qingxue's voice was not loud, yet it plunged the whole stadium into dead silence. If you defeat me, this is yours. Boom. The crowd's outcry nearly tore the roof off. A mysterious, grade contemplation art. How could something like this appear at the Jiangxing Martial Arts exam final? Has the Lu family lost their minds? Wagering such a heritage treasure? It is their property. They may do as they wish. Up in the viewing stand, Zhou Yin paused mid-cigarette. His weathered eyes locked onto the jade slip in Lu Qingxue's palm, a flicker of deep longing crossing his pupils. Across all Longhua, fewer than 10 factions openly possessed contemplation arts. Every single one was a clan, guarding treasure, never shared with outsiders. Zhou Yin had long known the Lu family kept one in their collection. He simply never imagined Lu Qingxue would dare stake it as a wager. A mysterious, grade contemplation art, thrown down as a bet just like that. I waited 3 years and never even glimpsed a yellow, grade copy. This young lady truly is willing to risk everything. Zhou Yin leaned forward slightly, evaluating the stakes of this final match. Down in the competitor area, Su Dajiang's phone lit up. A news alert popped up. Market update. Prison, ceiling contemplation, art revealed. Bookmakers rushed to adjust odds. Current odds. Chu Yun Championship 1 minute and 1.33 seconds. Lu Qingxue Championship 1 minute and 2.89 seconds. Reading the notice, Su Dajiang's excitement faded into gravity. Only 1 minute ago, Chu Yun's odds had been no higher than 1.1, and Lu Qingxue's no lower than 3.0. According to the bookmakers' models, Lu Qingxue's win probability now exceeded 30%. Su Dajiang switched his phone off and took a deep breath. 1,800,000 credits. Would it all go down the drain? Back on the arena, Chu Yun did not glance at the jade slip. His gaze rested on Lu Qingxue's face for 1 second. Did you eavesdrop on my conversation? You spoke plenty loud with the martial arts administration man. Lu Qingxue's cheeks flushed deeper. I could hear every word, even from the far side of the resting zone. Whose fault is that? Chu Yun considered. The resting zone was open plan with no sound insulation. With Lu Qingxue's 224 qi blood enhancing her senses, she could easily pick up voices from over 10 meters away. She could hardly help overhearing. Very well. Chu Yun nodded. If you win, I will agree to what you asked for earlier. Is that correct? Aren't you going to ask where my confidence comes from? Lu Qingxue could not help but question. No need. You still cannot beat me. Lu Qingxue's eyes hardened. She flipped her wrist and stowed the jade slip away. The bone-chilling aura she had suppressed since stepping onto the platform began to pour off her body. Referee, begin. The referee glanced at the arena timer and raised his right hand high. Final match, start. Lu Qingxue vanished from where she stood. It was not mere speed. She simply disappeared. Within Chu Yun's martial artist senses, her chi blood signature vanished entirely. Only a blurry wisp of mist could be perceived. That mist spread, split apart, and reformed across the arena. The next moment, Lu Qingxue materialized to his left, 2 fingers extended like a sword, stabbing straight for the major artery in his neck. Chu Yun twisted to evade, yet his movement stalled. His feet had been frozen fast to the ground by leftover ice crystals from the prior match. So that was it. Lu Qingxue could have finished her last opponent instantly, yet she had deliberately left ice behind to set this trap. All right, I respect your resolve, but it is still not enough. Seeing his feet trapped in ice, Chu Yun threw himself backward, narrowly dodging the killing strike. He pressed both palms against the platform, forcing himself free of the frozen restraint, and launched a flying knee strike toward Lu Qingxue's midsection. Boom. His knee did not sink into flesh but slammed against an ice shell. A pale blue ice armor, less than 1 centimeter thick, yet as hard as alloy steel, had materialized within 3 feet around Lu Qingxue. An impact powerful enough to send ordinary martial artists flying only cracked the surface of the ice armor. Ice-souled divine physique, Chu Yun muttered to himself. The divine physique activated automatically upon sensing mortal danger, forging defensive ice armor around her body. Lu Qingxue dissolved once more into mist. This time Chu Yun did not wait passively. He took a sharp step forward, unleashing the 8 extremity steps to their utmost. His figure darted like a ghost toward the mist's core. Crash! His fist slammed against the arena's energy barrier, sending ripples of blue light surging across its surface. Lu Qingxue reappeared 10 meters behind him. Her hands wove through a strange hand seal. Ice domain. Milky white ice fog billowed out from within her, quickly swallowing the whole arena. Wherever the fog touched, hoarfrost bloomed across the platform. The breath Chu Yun exhaled turned to white mist instantly. Glancing down, he saw his feet sticking fast to the icy floor. Your speed is impressive, Lu Qingxue's voice echoed from within the ice fog, clear and cold as frost. But within my ice domain, every wisp of air tells me exactly where you stand. Chu Yun stood rooted, biting back piercing cold that seeped in from every direction. This was no ordinary mist. Each snowflake carried a fine thread of frigid energy. Upon touching skin, those threads wormed through pores, seeking to freeze the chi blood flowing through his meridians. Chu Yun was forced to divert part of his focus to circulating his chi blood and expel the invading chill. Yet the cold came in overwhelming volume. For every strand he drove out, 10 more flooded in. Lu Qingxue flickered in and out of sight within the fog. Pale blue light swirled around her as countless sharp ice spikes solidified, each glinting with deep blue radiance. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. Ice spikes shot forward, flying from every tricky angle, leaving nothing but streaks of blue light in their wake. Chu Yun moved at top speed with the 8 extremity steps, weaving through the fog and casting after images across the platform. He dodged the first spike with a sidestep, punched the second apart midair, and ducked so the third barely grazed his hair. The ice spikes seemed endless, one wave after another, weaving a deadly net covering the entire fighting space. Chu Yun finally understood Lu Qingxue's strategy. Knowing she could not outmatch him in raw chi blood, she relied on extreme crowd control and attrition. Snowflakes steadily degraded his chi blood activity, while ice spikes maintained constant pressure. The longer the fight dragged on, the worse his condition grew. She did not aim for one-hit kills. Instead, through precise chi blood manipulation and sharp battlefield judgment, she stacked continuous debuffs and damage over time effects to wear him down. It was classic high-tier ice-style combat arts. Lu Qingxue's tactical literacy was far beyond anything Chu Hao had possessed. Cold kept gnawing at him. Every movement forced Chu Yun to burn extra chi blood just to repel the chill. He knew he could not afford to keep trading blows like this. 8 extremity prison-suppressing art, activate. Beneath his feet, power surged, cracking the icy surface of the arena. Like an arrow loosed from a bow, he covered 20 meters in a single stride, his fist carrying the force of splitting mountains as it crashed toward Lu Qingxue's position. Lu Qingxue crossed her arms before her. A 2-meter-tall, half-a-foot-thick pale blue ice wall materialized out of thin air, blocking the path of his blow. Boom. The ice wall shattered on impact, shards of ice flying in all directions. To shatter my polar blue ice with one punch, you are the first among our generation to do so, Lu Qingxue's voice rang out from behind him, laced with a hint of admiration. She pushed both hands outward. The countless shattered pale blue ice shards stirred to life, reassembling midair into fist-sized ice crystals that rained down on Chu Yun like hail. Each crystal coiled with soul-freezing cold. A single hit would be enough to stagnate blood flow in the stricken area. Chu Yun threw punch after punch. The 4 forces of Bejiquan, bursting, shaking, leaning, and ramming, erupted in turn, smashing every incoming crystal to pieces. Bang, bang, bang. As the ice crystals burst apart, they released frigid energy that swiftly gathered around him, forming a dense, almost impenetrable pale blue icy mist. Chu Yun's vision grew obscured. Even his senses seemed numbed by the bitter cold. The arena floor was already sheathed in solid ice, slick and slippery. Yet Lu Qingxue moved across it as if on solid ground, light and graceful as a white crane in snow. She circled Chu Yun, spinning faster and faster, firing ice spike projectiles in rapid succession. 1, 10, 50. Dodging and counter-striking, Chu Yun weaved within the steadily shrinking cloud of icy mist. He was waiting for an opening. For all her seemingly unbreakable offensive, Lu Qingxue only possessed 224 vitality points. She could not sustain high-grade martial art techniques indefinitely. Every ice spike cost her vitality. She could not keep this up for long. Lu Qingxue knew this full well. Years of sparring against Xiang Wei had sharpened her battle intuition. She had to land her finishing blow before her vitality ran dry. The next instant, snow and wind erupted violently. Blizzards surged in from every side of the arena, swallowing Chu Yun's sight completely. Within his perception, Lu Qingxue's aura split apart, one presence becoming four, blurred and hard to pin down. She had created phantom clones amid the snowstorm, using the blizzard to conceal her true position and killing intent entirely. All four Lu Qingxue figures raised their hands at the same time. Chu Yun closed his eyes. Sight was useless now. His senses were muddled by the icy mist. Was this a dead end? No, something was terribly wrong. Chu Yun forced himself to stay calm. Even if Lu Qingxue could mask her aura perfectly, the soul-chilling cold clinging to every ice spike could not be fully hidden. If these attacks could not truly wound him badly, why did she keep pressing him relentlessly? The ice wall was a feint. The clones were a feint. The ice spikes were also feints. Lu Qingxue's real killing move must lie somewhere he had overlooked. His gaze snapped down toward the ground. Without him noticing, most of the ice beneath his feet had melted away. Only faint, barely noticeable pale blue ice specks clung to the arena surface, glimmering faintly. Abruptly, a bone-chilling cold rose from his dantian. Chu Yun drew in all his surging internal vitality, ceasing to channel it outward. You've noticed? The raging snowfall died away without warning. Lu Qingxue's true form materialized not far off. Too late. A heavy dread settled in Chu Yun's heart. He quickly turned his focus inward. A layer of pale blue frost had spread over the outer edge of his dantian. His vitality, once rushing like a great river, was now mired. Barely 1/10 of his full vitality was at his command. When had this happened? It was those tiny pale blue ice fragments. Polar blue ice, Lu Qingxue murmured, a faint blue ice flower forming in her palm. This art can not only defend against attacks, it can also turn into fine snow that sticks to its target, silently seeping into the dantian and sealing the circulation of vitality. I clearly channeled my vitality to dispel all the cold that invaded my body, Chu Yun said. He tried to break through the frost, yet the cold had tangled deep with his vitality and would not be easily dislodged. What you dispelled was only superficial cold I deliberately showed you, meant to mislead your senses. That was how polar blue ice slipped into your dantian unseen, Lu Qingxue explained, her tone earnest rather than triumphant. Surrender now, and I will lift the cold from your body. Delay any longer, and the chill will reach the core of your dantian. You will need at least a month to recover. The word surrender does not exist in my vocabulary. Chu Yun lifted his head, his gaze resolute. A warrior never surrenders. Then I can hold back no longer. Lu Qingxue's eyes hardened. The ice flower in her hand transformed into a 2-meter-long ice sword, pale blue and nearly transparent. The moment she grasped the blade, a battle skirt woven of ice crystals materialized around her, its layered petals rippling outwards. Her long hair streamed in the icy wind, dotted with tiny glinting ice stars. Pale blue sword light illuminated her profile, like a celestial maiden descending to the mortal world. In this moment, Lu Qingxue was no longer the untouchable beauty of Jiangxing High School. She was the true bearer of the ice soul physique. Burial in snow. The words fell softly from her lips, and the ice sword sliced down. All Chu Yun could see was a wash of pale blue. The instant the sword tip touched him, eerie blue frost spread outward from the point of contact. It crawled across his forehead, his cheeks, his neck, and over his entire body. Less than a second, Chu Yun was sealed inside a 2-meter-tall block of pale blue ice. The 50,000-seat arena fell dead silent. Up on the viewing platform, Zhou Yin sighed slowly. He was still outmatched. The primal cold of the ice soul physique holds near absolute suppression over warrior realm practitioners. There was regret in his voice, yet also a measure of relief. On the arena floor, Lu Qingxue stood motionless before the towering ice sculpture. The ice sword in her hands dissolved bit by bit into glimmering particles that drifted away on the breeze. Complex emotions welled up inside her unbidden. She recalled the burning resolve in Chu Yun's eyes when he had said a warrior never surrendered. Had she really won? Somehow, it brought her little joy. She drew a sharp breath, pushing her tangled feelings aside. She turned toward the referee's stand, ready to speak. Crack, a faint, brittle sound echoed from behind her. Lu Qingxue froze mid-step. Crack, 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 crack. Fractures multiplied rapidly. She spun around sharply. Spiderweb-like fissures spread across the surface of the ice sculpture. blazing crimson light shining out from every crack. Boom! The ice sculpture exploded apart. Chu Yun stood unscathed at the center of the blast, shards of ice sliding from his hair. The air around him warped faintly, radiating the imposing pressure of a martial master, like a slumbering great beast awakening, his aura unfurling steadily. 500 vitality points marked the divide between warrior and martial master. Below 500, the Dantian's vitality reservoir lay still and deep, like a lake. Above 500, vitality shifted from stillness to motion. A self-sustaining, endlessly swirling vortex of power formed within the core of the Dantian. Powerful as Lu Qingshue's polar blue ice was, it was built to seal the static, lake-like vitality of warrior realm cultivators. Attempting to freeze a self-revolving vortex with it was as futile as a snowflake trying to freeze an entire raging river. It was utterly hopeless. This was a leap in the fundamental order of life, the natural suppression of a major realm. Against Chu Yun's fully unleashed strength, Lu Qingxue stood no chance unless she herself advanced to martial master. No longer holding back, Chu Yun stirred his will. A surging tide of vitality pressure rippled outward from him across the arena. Every last trace of ice shards, snow and frigid aura remaining on the stage instantly vaporized without a trace. Martial master. Lu Qingshue's pupils constricted. She stumbled half a step backward, shock written across her cold, exquisite features. Chu Yun exhaled the last traces of cold from his lungs. Then he moved. It was nothing more than a simple dash, yet so fast Lu Qingxue could barely register more than a blurry silhouette. She had no time to conjure an ice wall, no time to dodge, not even time to cry out. Chu Yun was already standing right in front of her, so close she could still see snowflakes caught on his eyelashes. Time seemed to stretch on endlessly. Lu Qingxue forgot to breathe. Her mind went completely blank. Her ice-soul physique lapsed without her focus, and she could not summon ice armor in time to shield herself. Chu Yun calmly raised his right hand, bent his middle finger, and flicked it lightly against her smooth forehead. Pop! The crystal battle skirt on Lu Qingxue and the thin layer of ice forming beneath her feet shattered simultaneously. Shattered ice particles drifted through the air like countless silver fireflies, catching the light as they swirled around her parted lips and wide, astonished eyes. She stared at Chu Yun. Chu Yun stared back. Her vitality already severely overtaxed, Lu Qingshue's body could no longer keep its balance. She swayed and fell backward. A hand caught her wrist, warm and steady, pulling her upright. Her mind remained clear, yet that light flick to her forehead had scrambled her sense of equilibrium. Leaning against his arm to steady herself, she felt a warm tingling spreading across her forehead. It did not hurt, but it numbed her, fogging her thoughts completely. In a single second, the battle had been turned entirely on its head. The entire venue sat frozen in silence. 3 seconds. 5 seconds. 10 seconds. Whoa! Su Dajiang shot up from his seat, his roar cutting through the whole stadium. Martial master. Brother Chu is a martial master. His shout was the spark igniting a dormant volcano. The 50,000-seat arena erupted. A martial master. That is definitely martial masterclass vitality pressure. Good heavens. We are witnessing history. Chu Yun, Chu Yun, Chu Yun. Deafening chants surged toward the ceiling. 50,000 spectators rose spontaneously to their feet, roaring his name at the tops of their lungs. Chu Yun, Chu Yun, Chu Yun. Wave after wave of sound crashed over the arena. On the fighting platform, Lu Qingxue steadied herself at last. She slowly pulled her wrist free from Chu Yun's grasp. Lifting her head, she looked up at the young man before her. Gone was the unshakable confidence she had shown when sealing her foe in ice. Her beautiful cold eyes held a tangled mix of emotions, dejection at defeat, embarrassment at having her pride so publicly shaken, and frustration upon realizing he had concealed his true strength all along. She had lost. Thoroughly, completely, without any capacity to fight back. I yield. Lu Qingxue lowered her gaze, her voice soft enough for only the two of them to hear, weighted with the relief of casting off a heavy burden. As the most outstanding genius of the Lu household, she had carried expectations beyond ordinary people's comprehension. She had dreamed of claiming first place in the national martial arts examinations. Yet before she even left Jiangqing, she had met defeat. You are extremely strong. Chu Yun shook his head slightly. If we had both remained in the warrior realm, I would have lost. I only won through the advantage of a higher realm. The thought crossed his mind that he sounded strangely like a villain from a story. Lu Qingxue gave a quiet hum. His words eased her feelings a little. Her cool gaze locked onto him. How much of your power have you still hidden? This is my full strength. Is that the truth, or are you lying? Lu Qingxue took one step closer. Truth. I am only 18, and already a martial master. Isn't that impressive enough? Chu Yan stepped half a pace back. He suspected his string of tricks had left the young woman deeply wary of him. Earlier, he had wanted to test exactly how far a warrior could push themselves against the famed Ice Soul physique. The result was clear: a warrior could not win. His victory came purely from his realm advantage. In martial skill and natural gift, Lu Qingxue far outstripped him. Back in the Azure Nether secret realm, was it truly an accident, or? Lu Qingxue finally voiced the question she had kept buried in her heart. Halfway through her sentence, her cheeks flushed bright red, her final words sinking to a whisper barely audible even to herself. Chu Yun watched her fair skin flush crimson, burning hot to the point of embarrassment. He knew full well what she was asking. The moment he had been dreading had arrived. He had evaded this topic in the cafe before, and now it resurfaced in front of 50,000 spectators. If only he had clarified things back then. But what difference would intentional versus accidental make with so many eyes watching? He steered the conversation away. The body, refining liquid in the Azure Nether secret realm, benefited me greatly. It boosted my vitality by a huge margin. You. His evasive reply made Lu Qingxue tremble with frustration. All her flustered, soft-hearted thoughts melted away into exasperation. Not a single honest word came out of this man's mouth. She shot him a sharp glare. A silver, glowing jade slip appeared in her palm. She held it out and pressed it firmly into his hand, as if handling something burning hot. Here, take it. A deep, blue, robed figure silently appeared in the center of the arena. Grandmaster Zhou Yan. His gaze lingered briefly on the jade slip in Chu Yun's hand. Then a substantial, all-encompassing spiritual sense washed over Chu Yun's whole body like gentle spring breeze, finally delving deep into his Dantian reservoir. He intended to assess Chu Yun's true standing personally. For a split second, a flicker of astonishment crossed Zhou Yan's normally unreadable eyes. Within the Dantian, vitality flowed like liquid mercury, swirling in a perfectly self-contained vortex. Its power was dense and solid. This was no hollow state forced by rare treasures, nor a false realm conjured by forbidden stimulants. His foundations were rock, solid, a genuine martial master. An 18-year-old martial master. Zhou Yan withdrew his perception. His outward expression remained calm, yet inside his mind a storm raged. For 30 years, he had overseen Jiangqing. He had seen countless prodigies. Talents breaking 100 vitality points appeared every few years. Someone blessed with a peerless gift like Lu Qingxue's Ice Soul physique would rank among the most exceptional in the entire history of Long Country. Even so, they paled beside the youth standing before him. In 200 years of Long Country's martial history, there had only ever been two martial masters who reached this rank at 18. One became the northern border's unbreakable shield, holding back demon hordes single-handedly and striking fear into every foreign race, the god, general of the town army. The other fell to darkness, walking the path of the abyss, unleashing rivers of blood before finally being slain atop Kunlun Mountain, a tragedy remembered by all. And now, here before him stood the third. This young man must have obtained some world-shattering great fortune. Zhou Yan's thoughts raced, yet he chose not to press for answers. Every martial artist had their own karmic blessings. So long as his power did not stem from the abyss demons, it was not his place to pry. What was more, an 18-year-old martial master standing here, on the arena of Jiangcheng High School, carried meaning far beyond the individual himself. He was a new, blazing flame for humanity in its struggle against the endless abyss. Young generation, truly formidable. A rare smile tugged at Grandmaster Zhou Yan's stern features. Chu Yun, today you have truly opened my eyes. Faced with praise from a Grandmaster, Chu Yun remained composed, showing no trace of overawed deference. Thank you, Director Zhou. His poise drew another silent word of approval from Zhou Yan. Lu girl. Zhou Yan turned toward Lu Qingxue, his tone gentle. Do not be disheartened. The Ice Soul physique holds boundless potential. Today's defeat may prove a more valuable lesson for you than any victory. Lu Qingxue nodded respectfully. I understand. Thank you for your guidance, Director Zhou. Zhou Yan faced the 50,000 spectators still reeling from shock, his powerful voice rolling across the whole stadium. I declare the winner of this match, Chu Yun of Jiangcheng High School. Chants of Chu Yun's name erupted once more. Chu Yun! Chu Yun! Chu Yun! Su Dajiang's round face burned red. He waved his arms wildly in the audience stands, shouting louder than everyone around him. Brother Chu is amazing. Brother Chu is mighty. We won. My 2 million. Ha ha. He was so overjoyed he nearly fainted. Thunderous cheering echoed on and on. That name, tied to the legend of the 18-year-old martial master, etched itself deep into the memory of every witness present. When the noise died down somewhat, Zhou Yan leaned toward Chu Yun and lowered his voice. The profound, grade upper, rank meditation art stored within that jade slip would spark violent blood-soaked intrigue even in the capital. Jiangxing may be a small place, yet precious treasures arouse greed wherever they go. You stand in the spotlight now, and you hold such a priceless item. Unscrupulous people may well set their sights on you. His warning was quiet, but clear. If you have nowhere safe to stay, you are welcome to lodge at my residence. Within Jiangxing's territory, so long as I am here, no one will dare harm you. Chu Yun's eyes narrowed slightly. He truly had not thought this through. He had only focused on winning the match, never considering that the meditation art would turn into such a dangerous liability. Still, there were ways to handle it. He possessed Ascend the Divine Ladder. He could study the art for 3 hours and then destroy the jade slip, or sell it onward. Yet even doing so would leave him with plenty of trouble. There would always be those coveting his secrets. Zhou Yan's offer was by far the safest option available right now. The protection of a Grand Master would deter nearly all malicious schemers. Yet favors were the hardest debts to repay, and a Grand Master's favor weighed heavier than most. Fortunately, he had a better idea. I am truly grateful for your kind offer, Director Zhou. Chu Yun spoke earnestly, then shifted his gaze toward Lu Qingxue, a faint smirk playing on his lips. Lu Qingxue and I already made plans to travel to Zhongzhou after the martial examinations. I will be staying at her household for those few days. That should be fine, right? Ah. Lu Qingxue spun around, her clear eyes wide, her expression plainly saying, Are you kidding me? Chu Yun tucked the jade slip away inside his robe. Have you forgotten our arrangement, classmate Lu? Who made any such plans with you? Lu Qingxue blurted out, a note of barely controlled urgency in her cool voice. You said you would not have time. Plans change. Chu Yun spread his hands. It just so happens I am free all of a sudden. What a coincidence. Lu Qingxue, she stared at his face, which wore a mask of sincere innocence masking outright mischief. Heat rushed to her head, and the tips of her ears flushed bright red. This bastard. He won the contest, obtained the thought, contemplation art, and now he is publicly teasing her. Worse still, she could do absolutely nothing about him. She had already missed her chance to become the National Martial Arts Examination top scorer. If she gained nothing from the upcoming Central State Secret Realm expedition, she would truly have to submit to her family's arrangement and marry into the Wang family. 12 years of hard work would then go down the drain, all for another person's benefit. That was the last outcome she wanted to see. You are shameless. Lu Qingxue forced the words out through gritted teeth, shot Chu Yun a sharp glare, then turned and left, almost jogging down the competition stage as if some terrible danger were chasing right behind her. Chu Yun gave Zhou Yuan an apologetic smile and said, This junior takes his leave. He then set off at an unhurried pace to follow her, keeping a steady distance of 3 or 4 steps. Zhou Yuan stared in astonishment at first, watching the pair, whose dynamic seemed oddly charged, vanish through the passageway. He shook his head and chuckled. Young people sure have plenty of tricks. I suppose I worried for nothing. For Miss Lu to even part with a high-grade Xian, rank thought, contemplation art, her intentions speak for themselves. His gaze drifted far away, as if he could see the vast world beyond Jiangcheng, his tone tinged with sighs. It seems the Lu clan, which has lain dormant for years, is truly about to rise to great heights riding this opportunity. Only footsteps, one ahead and one behind, echoed inside the passage. Lu Qingxue walked fast. Her white sneakers tapped crisply and rapidly against the tiled floor. She hoped this resolute speed would shake off the young man who had just defeated her and shamelessly followed her. With both hands tucked in his trouser pockets, Chu Yun followed unhurriedly, maintaining a distance of 4 or 5 steps. At the end of the passage lay the parking lot. A black Maybach sat quietly there. The car window on the driver's side rolled down, revealing Qiang Wei's face, etched with bewilderment. She watched her young lady storm over with a frosty expression, then glanced at the youth trailing behind her. The martial arts examination top scorer, why was he coming along too? Lu Qingxue pulled open the passenger side door and climbed in without so much as a glance backward. Chu Yun walked naturally to the rear door, pulled it open, and bent to sit down. Bang! Bang! The 2 doors slammed shut almost simultaneously. Qiang Wei. She looked instinctively toward her young lady. Drive. Head home. Lu Qingxue said from the passenger's seat, already buckling her seatbelt. She stared out the window, offering Xiang Wei only her beautiful profile. Understood, Mississippi. Suppressing a flood of questions, Xiang Wei started the vehicle, and the black sedan glided smoothly out of the parking lot. Through the rear view mirror, she stole glances at Chu Yun in the back seat. Compared with their first meeting, there was now unmistakable awe in her eyes. Before the martial arts examination, Xiang Wei had taken it for granted that her young lady would be Jiangqing's top scorer. No one had expected such a monstrous newcomer to emerge out of nowhere. A martial master at 18, was he even human? But why had he gotten into the car? And why did her young lady seem to allow it? There was far too much to process. Xiang Wei withdrew her gaze and focused wholeheartedly on driving. Silence filled the carriage, broken only by the soft hum of the air conditioner. Happy for the quiet, Chu Yun poured all his focus into the jade slip he had just obtained. Prison, suppressing thought. Contemplation art. In the spirit court lies a prison, suppressing all thoughts within oneself. When thoughts fade, the soul condenses. When the prison shatters, divinity is born. The very first sentence made his head throb. He recognized every single character, yet they made no sense strung together. He kept reading, forcing his way through the text. At the center, encircled by countless complicated passages, was a contemplation diagram. It depicted an eternal dark void. Floating at its heart stood an ancient bronze prison. Its form was ferocious and archaic, its surface marked by countless years of wear. The prison gate was tightly shut, and carved onto its panels was a closed vertical eye. 9 thick bronze chains stretched out from nothingness, coiling around the prison. Their opposite ends were driven deep into the endless surrounding darkness, anchoring the massive structure firmly in place. The whole image radiated an awe, inspiring will capable of suppressing all of eternity. The instant he saw this diagram, Chu Yun's consciousness was suddenly pulled inward. When he opened his eyes again, he was stunned to find himself no longer inside the moving carriage. He stood directly before the bronze prison. The prison loomed like a mountain, its shadow swallowing him entirely. The next moment, the vertical eye on the gate snapped open without warning. The scene shifted completely. Chu Yun felt as though he had fallen into a boundless purgatory. Countless wandering thoughts, delusions, evil impulses, fears, and desires transformed into hideous specters that surged toward him from every direction. The wails of countless wronged spirits rang in his ears. Beneath his feet lay scorching magma and jagged white bones. Terrifying illusions sought to drag him into eternal ruin. At this critical moment, inside his Niwen palace, his far, above, average mental power erupted under extreme stimulation. A sharp bolt of mental lightning split forth from the core of his chaotic consciousness. Crackle, the illusions shattered instantly. Chu Yun's real, world eyes flew open. Cold sweat had soaked through his back. That had been close. So very close. If he had not broken through to martial master, his spirit tempered and strengthened by qi, blood, his mind would surely have sustained damage from that shock. Without a guardian nearby, ordinary warriors who rashly immersed their consciousness in such a high-grade contemplation diagram risked mental collapse at the slightest misstep. Chu Yun now understood why thought, contemplation arts could not be widely copied and circulated. The contemplation diagram itself was the core. Forged purely from mental power, it simply could not be duplicated. Having narrowly escaped disaster, when Chu Yun turned his attention once more to the once cryptic text on the jade slip, something strange happened. Many obscure points suddenly became crystal clear. He opened his system panel. Function: when the host enters a cultivation state, 1 minute in real time equals 1 year of subjective time within the host's inner micro-realm. Available cultivation duration: unlimited, limited only by the host's mental endurance. Qi, blood value: 525 mental power, 50 cultivation arts, 8 extremes fist perfection, basic breathing method perfection, prison, suppressing thought, contemplation art uninitiated. This newly appeared mental power stat must have unlocked from practicing the prison, suppressing thought, contemplation art. Only 50 mental power for a martial master, prison, suppressing thought, contemplation art uninitiated. Chu Yun assessed inwardly. Merely understanding it is far from true initiation. Real cultivation only begins now. 50 points of mental power barely scraped the minimum threshold for practice, as what he had just endured proved. True initiation, let alone mastery, would not come overnight. He took a deep breath, carefully stowed away the jade slip, and refrained from further attempts. For one thing, his first exposure had taken a heavy toll, and he needed to recover. For another, Lu Qingxue and Xiang Wei were still in the car. Exposing his stairway to divinity system would spell huge trouble. He glanced toward the front seats. Lu Qingxue still stared out the window like a beautiful ice sculpture. Xiang Wei kept her attention fixed on driving. Chu Yin relaxed slightly. Before long, the vehicle entered Jiangqing No. 1 villa compound. It pulled up before a two-story detached villa. Gray exterior walls, clean modern lines, set amid greenery in the front courtyard, exuding understated luxury. Jiangqing No. 1 compound, Villa 23. Come in, Lu Qingxue said, walking up to the heavy smart door and pressing her index finger against it. Beep identity verified. Chu Yin followed her across the entrance hall. You will stay here for the next few days. I will have Uncle Zhou come later to register your fingerprint for the main gate. Lu Qingxue explained as she walked. The cultivation chamber is on the basement level. All equipment meets military-grade standards. Bedrooms are all on the second floor. Pick whichever you like. They are all unoccupied. Does just one person live in such a huge house? Who else would there be? Where do you stay? I live next door, Villa 24. Huh. Through the floor, two ceiling windows. Chu Yun glanced toward Villa 24 and spotted Xiang Wei parking the car. He blinked. Is Villa 22 also yours? Uncle Zhou lives in 22. Lu Qingxue replied calmly. One beat of silence hung in the living room. This was the foundation of an established great clan. In Jiangqing's most exclusive villa compound, 3 connected villas had been purchased without hesitation. One for the young lady, one for guests, and one for the driver and bodyguard. Compared to this, the Chu clan was utterly insignificant. Chu Yun's gaze drifted to the 2-meter diameter crystal chandelier hanging in the hall, its light almost dazzling. He sighed. Are the wealthy really living such a plain, unadorned, and tedious life? Lu Qingxue ignored his comment. Her expression turned back to its usual cool composure. Twice before, you firmly refused to join the Central State Secret Realm expedition. Why have you suddenly changed your mind, using such a clumsy excuse? If you worry that the prison, suppressing thought, contemplation art will bring you trouble, rest assured. I will issue a statement in the Lu clan's name. No one in Jiangqing will dare harm someone under our protection. Once you enter Kyoto Martial University, with your status as an 18-year-old martial master, even fewer will dare provoke you. Her cool eyes locked onto Chu Yun. So what is your real reason? You can still back out now if you wish. Can I really back out right now? Chu Yun joked. Lu Qingxue, what are you thinking? I agreed to go to the Central State Secret Realm with you, but that does not mean I am working for free. I expect compensation, you know. Chu Yun had come to see that for all her pride and icy demeanor, Lu Qingxue was kind, hearted, and honorable. Even before he had revealed his martial master strength, she had shown great sincerity, offering him a direct admission spot to Kyoto Martial University before the martial arts examination, and wagering the Xian rank thought, contemplation art without hesitation during their duel. Offering to help her for nothing would seem pretentious, almost as if he looked down on her. Since Lu Qingxue had displayed such sincerity and breadth of mind, he was willing to genuinely assist her within his ability. That said, proper payment was non-negotiable. Working without pay was the behavior of a sycophant, and he had no intention of being one. How much do you want? Lu Qingxue frowned slightly. As you know, the Azure Nether Secret Realm has been a great boon for me. The body cleansing elixirs I obtained there contributed greatly to my present strength. Chu Yin paused. Therefore, I want an unrestricted permanent access pass for the Azure Nether Secret Realm. I have heard there is some kind of VIP black card. Now that he had advanced to Martial Master, he intended to visit pools 40 to 47 and hunt for more treasures. That is all, merely an access pass. A hint of undisguised disappointment colored Lu Qingxue's voice. What? Do you think I am asking for too little? Of course. How could people of wealth possibly understand the mindset of a youth who once ran away from home just for a single entry permit? Chu Yin fabricated on the spot. Fine, at a villa then. This one suits me perfectly. I like its layout, the view, and above all, I am fond of the number 23. Lu Qingxue stared silently at him for 2 full seconds and asked no further questions. She took out an all-black card and set it upon the polished kitchen island countertop. This is the Azure Nether Secret Realm VIP black card. It bears no name and grants unlimited access. Next, she placed 2 thumb-sized deep blue crystal vials beside the black card. These 2 bottles are spirit concentrating potions. They assist in practicing thought, contemplation arts. Initial practice of the prison suppressing thought. Contemplation art easily strains the spirit. One may even be trapped in illusions by backlash from the contemplation diagram. Drink 1 vial before each contemplation session. It will safeguard your mind and lower the risks. The property deed is not on my person. Someone will deliver it here in a few days. Having finished, Lu Qingxue said no more and walked straight for the door. Click. The door opened, then closed softly. Chu Yun was left alone in the spacious villa. He looked down at the black card and spirit potions, then toward the shut door, and let out a quiet laugh. She really was easy to tease. Stowing his new possessions, Chu Yun headed down to the basement, level cultivation chamber. The heavy alloy door closed silently behind him, sealing off all outside interference. Chu Yun sat cross-legged, uncapped one of the spirit, concentrating potions. Ice, blue liquid shimmered under the lights, releasing a fresh, cool fragrance. He drank it down. A cooling current surged straight toward his forehead, clearing his mind and quieting scattered thoughts. Truly a fine item. He unfurled the jade slip, and the bronze prison appeared once more in his inner vision. This time, however, the vertical eye on its gate stayed shut. Following the art's formula, deep within his consciousness he attempted to trace the core rune embodying the true meaning of prison, suppression. At the same moment, he activated Stairway to Divinity. 1 minute real, world time equaled 1 year within his subjective micro-realm. Cultivating a thought, contemplation art differed from practicing qi, blood circulation. It was pure spiritual refinement, condensing willpower out of nothing, igniting insight amid stillness, tempering the very essence of the soul and expanding the boundaries of awareness. Year 1, his thoughts drifted like wind, blown sand. Every rune phantom he traced instantly disintegrated. Year 10, his focus grew steadier. He could sustain the rune's basic outline, yet it shattered at the lightest touch. Year 50, the rune grew substantially more solid, its lines distinct. Still it was only an empty shell, cold and lifeless, lacking the ancient, world-suppressing divine intent. Year 120, deep within the solidified rune, divine intent finally awakened. It was an ancient will capable of bearing all creation and suppressing everything. Mental power permanently +1. A dull ache arose inside his Niwen palace at his forehead, swiftly melting into soothing coolness, as though a blocked waterway had been unclogged. A faint yet blazing flame ignited deep within his consciousness behind his brows. His mental spirit flame had taken form. Chu Yun's spirit stirred. 120 subjective years. An ordinary warrior would be close to death before reaching this level of initiation. For him, it had only taken 2 real world hours. Furthermore, his mental aptitude seemed 10-fold greater than his qi, blood aptitude. 1 subjective year of cultivation raised qi, blood by merely 0.1 points, yet boosted mental power by a full point. Without hesitation, he opened and drank the second spirit, concentrating potion. Cool medicinal power washed over his mind once more, bringing him into an even deeper state of clarity and focus. He sank fully into the spiritual world, using will as his chisel and subjective time as fuel, painstakingly carving each prison, suppression rune. Real, world time slipped by. 1 hour passed. Within his inner world, the originally rice, grain-sized mental spirit flame grew to the size of a mung bean. Scattered fragments of mental power converged naturally toward his forehead, Niwen Palace. 2 hours passed. There was no sense of monotony. Every passing subjective year brought tangible solidification to his mind. The mental spirit flame swelled to the size of a plump soybean. 6 hours passed. Chu Yun sank so deep into spiritual construction that he lost awareness of his surroundings. Far from growing weary, every rise in mental clarity filled him with profound refreshment. The flame bloomed to the size of a longan, its light held inward. 19 hours passed. In the real world, it was 2 o'clock the following afternoon. 1,020 subjective years of inner realm cultivation complete. An invisible mental ripple radiated outward from him. Air stirred inside the sealed chamber, and unsecured training equipment trembled faintly. His mental power flowed like a well-ordered river. With a thought, he could project his awareness outward for 100 meters, perceiving every fine detail. He could even faintly exert influence upon physical reality. He had become a grand thought master. In martial arts cultivation, practitioners focused on qi, blood, and flesh. The realms were warrior, martial master, grand martial master, grandmaster, great grandmaster, martial spirit, martial king, martial honored one, martial emperor, martial sage. martial god, emperor. Thought cultivation centered on soul and willpower. Its realms were thought apprentice, thought master, grand thought master, thought ancestor, great thought ancestor, spirit thought master, holy spirit thought master, thought honored one, thought king, thought sage, thought god, emperor. In Longwa's recorded martial history, only two figures had ever reached the rank of thought honored one. The higher ranks of thought king, thought sage, and thought god, emperor existed mostly as theoretical realms deduced by later generations. The path of the thought masters demanded extreme talent, insight, and resources. Advancement was brutally difficult. High-ranked thought practitioners were 100 times rarer than warriors of equivalent standing. With a thought, Chuyin called up his system panel. Mental power, 1000. Cultivation arts, 8 extremes fist perfection, basic breathing method perfection, prison, suppressing thought, contemplation art perfection. A grand thought master, rarer even than a great grandmaster. Chu Yun murmured to himself. I never expected my mental power would forge ahead of my chi, blood, and break through to such lofty heights first. Alongside his joy came a familiar, awkward predicament, reminiscent of the time he had possessed martial master, level chi blood, but lacked matching combat techniques. He now commanded vast, surging mental power, yet possessed no methods for actively using it in attack or defense. The prison, suppressing thought. Contemplation art forged the fundamental spirit and granted a measure of mental pressure, yet it contained no actual offensive or defensive thought combat techniques. He needed thought-based combat arts. Thought arts, or divine, will battle techniques. Those will surely come at a steep price. Still, one must take things step by step. The sheer surge in his mental power alone had vastly improved his self-control and danger perception. He exhaled a long breath. 19 hours of deep contemplation had not exhausted his spirit. Instead, he felt revitalized and sharp-witted, as though he had enjoyed the most restorative sleep. He picked up his phone and opened the Dragon Martial Marketplace. Typing Thought Arts into the search bar, he hit confirm. The page refreshed, displaying only a line of red text. Insufficient access privileges. Unable to view content. As expected. Next, he searched for the spirit, concentrating potion Lu Qingxue had given him. Reading the result, he stared in shock. Spirit, concentrating dew, 500 merit points per vial. Damn. The corner of Chu Yun's mouth twitched. I drank 10 million credits worth in just 2 sips. Chu Yun took a refreshing cold shower and went upstairs. A lavish lunch waited on the spacious solid wood dining table, wisps of steam still rising from the dishes. Resting conspicuously on the table edge was a small, hard, covered dark, green booklet, the property deed. They delivered this awfully quickly. Afraid I might back out, huh? Chu Yun picked up the green booklet, flipped it open for a glance, and then stowed it inside his system space. He glanced over the full table of delicacies, taking only 3 high concentration chi, blood nutrient gels, before heading out while eating. It had been more than 24 hours since he had tempered his chi blood. Cultivation mattered far more than food. Ever since Awakening's stairway to divinity, he had grown accustomed to his strength surging forth like floodwaters. This sudden stagnation filled him with an indescribable hunger deep in his bones. Every cell in his body cried out for greater energy. He had never believed that physical training could become addictive, but now he truly understood. Chu Yun hailed a ride. Hailing vehicle, destination, Azure Nether Secret Realm in the eastern suburbs. Arriving once more at the Secret Realm checkpoint, he showed the VIP black card given by Lu Qingxue. The administrator waved him through without a single extra question. Passing through the spatial gateway, the familiar aura of the Secret Realm washed over him. Stepping through the portal, Chu Yun headed straight for the hot Spring District's deepest reaches with a clear goal in mind. He first detoured to Pool 37 for a look. The spiritual energy particle concentration within had recovered to roughly 50 to 60% of its peak. Judging by the timeline, it would need about 10 days to make a full recovery. Chu Yun felt a measure of relief. The Secret Realm's renewable resources would serve him well in the long run. He pressed onward deeper into the hot spring zone. Pools 40 through 47 stood lined up side by side. 8 pools reserved exclusively for martial masters with chi, blood exceeding 500 points. His strength had not been sufficient for these pools before, but things were different now. I will take all of them. Chu Yun's gaze swept across the 8 empty pools. A faint smile tugged at the corner of his mouth as he walked directly toward Pool 40. The pool water was a deep emerald green. Wisps of mist swirled overhead, carrying spiritual energy particles far denser than those in the outer pools. Simply standing beside the water made every pore on his body relax spontaneously. Chuyin stripped and stepped into the pool. His scalding hot. The spirit-infused marrow, washing liquid seemed to come alive, surging madly into every pore of his body and merging violently with his chi blood. This was exactly the feeling he craved. Chuyin pushed his basic breathing technique to its absolute limit. The chi blood vortex in his dantian spun at unprecedented speed, greedily swallowing the spiritual energy from the pool. Permanent chi, blood +1. Permanent chi, blood +1. The familiar system notification chimed, sounding like the most wonderful melody in the world. 1 hour later, Pool 40's water had faded noticeably, turning nearly transparent. Without pausing, Chuyin climbed out dripping wet and moved to Pool 41. He jumped in and kept cultivating. His body functioned like a bottomless pit, devouring spiritual energy from the marrow, washing liquid. One pool after another was drained dry. Pool 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47. When he climbed out of Pool 47, the chi blood inside him surged violently and shattered an invisible barrier. Current chi, blood, 1005. Great Martial Master. With chi, blood breaking past 1,000, the cyclone within his dantian underwent another fundamental transformation, compressing and condensing into a far more powerful chi, blood crystal core. Vitality, regenerative capacity, and explosive power all rose dramatically. This marked the transformation of chi blood from a fluid state into a solid state. A single drop of condensed solid chi blood stored 10 times the energy of an equal volume of liquid chi blood. His martial cultivation had once again pulled ahead of his mental power. A solid sense of regained strength filled his entire body. Still, his mental power had proven quite helpful this time. To prevent the overwhelming energy unleashed during his breakthrough from drawing unwanted attention, Chuyin had manipulated his mental power shortly before advancing. He wove an invisible mental field around himself, absorbing all outward, rippling chi, blood fluctuations, and containing them within that barrier. To outside observers, he merely seemed to have soaked in the hot springs for a long while, showing normal improvements in chi blood. He had devised this mental power trick while riding the ride-hailing car. Thanks to his great mentalist, rank-fine control over mental power, he could not only project his perception outward, but also condense his mental force into an isolating, silence field that drastically dampened his energy signatures. From then on, he could quietly circulate his cultivation arts in many high-risk situations without being easily detected. Chuyin dried himself and dressed. At the same time, he activated the Azure Nether Jade Talisman to adjust his displayed chi blood to a reasonable value, 550 points. Once finished, he walked out of the Azure Nether Secret Realm with a calm expression. Night had fallen, and stars dotted the sky. He checked his phone, 21:34. No ride-hailing services were available out in the suburbs at this hour. I'll have to run back. A flicker of regret crossed Chuyun's mind. What a shame. I cannot cultivate during this half-hour trip back. Wasting time felt like a crime. He oriented himself, then shot off into the night like an arrow loosed from a bow. When Chuyin returned to Villa 23 of Jiangxing No. 1 residence, bright lights shone inside the building. The moment he stepped through the door, he spotted Lu Qingxue on the living room sofa. She wore practical black athletic wear that suited movement, accentuating her slender figure. For once, her long hair hung loose over her shoulders instead of being tied up. Gone was some of her usual icy aloofness, replaced by a relaxed, domestic bearing. She sat quietly on the sofa, with a dark, gray travel backpack beside her. Circumstances have changed. The Central Province Secret Realm is opening ahead of schedule. I just received notice. We must arrive at the designated Central Province Assembly Point by noon tomorrow at the latest. When do we leave? Chuyin thought it over. He carried no physical luggage. All his belongings resided inside his system space. It felt strange to have occupied this villa for only a single day, with no knowing when he might return. Right now, Lu Qingxue reached into her backpack and pulled out a neatly folded silver, gray soft armor. Grandmaster, Great Armor, Frost Scale. It can withstand a full power strike from a Grandmaster head-on. Chuyin took it. It weighed almost nothing, feeling supple as silk, yet shimmering with the cold glint of metal. Fine overlapping scale, like structures lined the inner surface, each etched with tiny formation runes. Time pressed, so Chuyin wasted no words. He pulled off his t-shirt, revealing his well-defined physique. The frost scale armor contracted automatically the instant it touched his skin, fitting snugly against his frame with barely perceptible extra weight. Lu Qingshue's cheeks flushed slightly. She turned away awkwardly. I will wait for you outside the door. Chu Yun rolled his shoulders and pulled his t-shirt back on. Satisfied with how unobtrusive the armor felt against his body, he nodded. Good. 5 minutes later, a black Maybach pulled out of Jiangqing one residence and sped toward the airport. Lu family private jet, Gulfstream G800. Leaning back against genuine leather seating, Chu Yun tapped through a tablet Lu Qingxue had handed him, loaded with detailed files about the upcoming Central Province Secret Realm. So this secret realm normally opens once every 10 years, yet for some reason it has advanced half a month early this year. Yes. Lu Qingshue's brows drew together. Though she had prepared for this Central Province Secret Realm expedition for 3 years, both her setback in the martial examination and the unexpected early opening had disrupted her plans. The exact cause remains unknown. The Lu family warriors stationed in Central Province only sent back 10 characters. Secret Realm Anomaly. Gateway activated prematurely. Chu Yun spread 2 fingers to zoom in on the Secret Realm map. Kanglan Water Manor, said to be the final resting place of an ancient martial sovereign. This self-contained domain is filled with restrictive formations and countless opportunities. He paused, then asked, is this not an abyss-type secret realm? It is, and it is not. Lu Qingxue explained slowly. 200 years ago, when humanity first explored this place, no abyss demonic beasts remained within. The first wave of explorers ventured deep and uncovered an ancient tomb. From fragmented ancient texts recovered there, they pieced together the secret realm's history. This was originally an ancient abyss secret realm that had existed for 10,000 years. In ages past, a mighty cultivator known as Kanglan Water Lord could not bear to watch humanity suffer slaughter by demonic beasts. He ventured alone into the realm and slew every ferocious monster dwelling within. Afterward, Kanglan Water Lord reshaped the secret realm and turned it into his personal dwelling, renaming it Kanglan Water Manor. Chu Yun raised an eyebrow. Having survived 10,000 years, it must hold plenty of treasures. 2 vital resources lie within the secret realm. Lu Qingshue's expression turned solemn. One is the twin blossom flower I mentioned before. The other, far more precious, is the 10,000-year spirit spring. The former holds 100 times the spiritual energy density of marrow washing liquid. The latter holds 1,000 times. Chu Yun looked slightly confused. Huh? Since when did marrow washing liquid become a unit of measurement? Marrow washing liquid is the most common energy medium in abyss secret realms. 1 cubic meter contains roughly 10 units of spiritual energy particles. A single twin blossom flower holds 1,000 units of spiritual energy particles. 1 drop of 10,000-year spirit spring holds 10,000 units. Now do you understand? Lu Qingshuo had caught him off guard on a basic knowledge point. A faint, playful glint flickered across her eyes. You scored full marks in liberal arts, yet this simple conversion stumps you. Even primary school students could work this out faster. Chu Yun shrugged. All right, you know everything. Why did you not score full marks yourself? Lu Qingshuo chose not to press the banter further and returned to the main topic. The main participants in this expedition are direct-line disciples from the 4 great clans, alongside select geniuses with military-approved special quotas. Moreover, ancient restrictions line the secret realm entrance. Any Grandmaster rank or higher cultivator who steps inside will trigger them. Should they force their way in, their cultivation will be permanently suppressed to the Great Martial Master rank. Even after leaving the secret realm, their martial arts path will halt forever. I have reviewed all participant lists. The strongest among them is He Chong, a bodyguard of the Zhao clan, a great martial master with chi blood over 1,000. Chu Yun wore a neutral expression, offering no comment. Ranked lists were not always truthful. The martial world held no shortage of formidable fighters who concealed their true strength, and he himself was the prime example. He had to prepare for the worst-case scenarios. You seek more than just the twin blossom flower, do you not? Lu Qingshuo glanced at him, a subtle shift crossing her cool gaze. Deep within Kanglan Water Manor lies an extreme cold zone. Legends speak of cold marrow there, which can further temper my ice-souled divine physique. My physique has only awakened to 70%. If I obtain cold marrow, I can push it to 90% or even full awakening. After finishing the documents, Chu Yun set the tablet down on the table between them. Then I suppose you do not know exactly where the cold marrow abyss is. Lu Qingshuo did not deny it. The inner terrain of Kanglan Water Manor is extremely complex. None of the 4 great clans possess a complete map for its deepest layers. I only know it lies at the very bottom, past the weak water mist. She paused and elaborated. Weak water mist is a naturally occurring toxic fog within the secret realm. It powerfully suppresses martial artists' chi blood perception and renders all detection equipment useless. Ordinary martial artists will find their perception range compressed to within 10 meters. Mental perception, however, suffers minimal interference. I told you about this before. Ever since the mental power attribute had appeared on Chu Yun's system panel, he knew ordinary martial masters only possessed around 50 mental power points, not even reaching the mentalist threshold. One mentalist emerged among roughly 100,000 martial artists. Yet with the Liu family's resources, recruiting one would pose no difficulty. There were clearly facts Lu Qingxue had chosen not to share. Still, since she kept silent, Chu Yun saw no reason to press her. I will help you. Chu Yun met Lu Qingxue's eyes directly, his tone earnest. But let us be clear from the start. I will handle scouting and treasure hunting. If you recklessly throw yourself into unnecessary danger, I will not risk my life to save you. Lu Qingxue agreed without hesitation. Understood. If we locate the Cold Marrow Abyss, my Lu family will cover all your cultivation-related expenses for your next 4 years of university. Chu Yun nodded and fell silent. Closing his eyes, he sent surging streams of mental power outward to form a barely detectable mental field surrounding his body. Deep within his sea of consciousness, the bronze ancient prison hung suspended in void space, 9 chains stretching off into endless darkness. With a thought, he wove threads of pure mental energy to trace, prison suppression, runes within his mind. Time flowed slowly within this microcosmic realm. Across from him, Lu Qingxue watched the young man with closed eyes. Her thoughts drifted back to the martial examination arena, to the light tap he had delivered against her forehead. Even now, the tips of her ears grew faintly warm at the memory. Lu Qingxue quickly banished her wandering thoughts, lowered her gaze, and refocused on the secret realm documents spread in her hands. The next day, 10:40 a.m. Eastern foothills of the Kanglan Mountain Range, Central Province. A military camp had been set up in a valley clearing outside the secret realm entrance. Dozens of army green military tents stood in neat rows. Armed soldiers and patrolling martial artist teams with visible outward chi blood alternated guard duty around the encampment. An artificially flattened open area stretched before the valley, where 7 or 8 armored off-road vehicles were parked. Dozens of people stood scattered in small groups across the clearing. In the northwest corner stood the Wang clan contingent. 4 young men in white martial arts uniforms clustered reverently around a youth seated in a folding chair. The youth was handsome, yet arrogance practically radiated from his features. This was Wang Zikai, young heir of the Wang clan. An 18-year-old martial master? He must have relied on forbidden arts to artificially inflate his chi blood. Wang Zikai sneered, twirling a jade thumb ring between his fingers. Hear him roar as the top scorer of the Jiangqing martial examination. How credible can such a title from a backwater city truly be? A hawk-nosed young man beside him chimed in at once. You speak the truth, young master. Without clan backing or systematic guidance from great masters, even if he somehow breaks through to martial master, he will lack proper techniques, resources, and real-world combat experience. A commoner with no solid foundation can only shine briefly. He will either get stuck at some bottleneck for life or die recklessly out in the wild. A parvenu, another Wang clansman scoffed. I looked into it. His parents are currently under investigation by the Martial Administration Bureau over connections to abyss demons. This boy will not have much time left to make trouble. A mocking smile played across Wang Zikai's lips. Do not trust social media hype. This so-called once-in-a-century genius is nothing but empty talk. At that moment, from the Li clan group in the northeast, a young man in blue clothing, holding a handheld electric fan, spoke up with a grin. Young Master Wang, you speak too harshly. All eyes turned toward him. This was Li Jun, second son of the Li clan. His natural talent was mediocre, yet he possessed sharp social instincts and excelled at currying favor with influential figures. I have heard this youth ranks among only 3 people in Dragon Nation's history to reach martial master at 18. He must truly possess extraordinary gifts. You ought to stay cautious around him. Li Jun folded his fan, stepped closer, and lowered his voice. Everyone knows Miss Liu is searching for cold marrow deep inside the secret realm. To reach it, one must cross vast stretches of weak water mist. If she brings an ordinary martial artist along, TSK, far from helping explore and hunt for treasures, he would likely become a burden requiring constant attention. I suspect this invited helper, Chu Yun, must be a mentalist. Wang Zikai raised an eyebrow. So what if he is a mentalist? Are you unaware that my Wang clan specializes in mental force arts? Naturally, I know. Young Master Wang is Dragon Nation's youngest mentalist in 100 years, standing merely one step away from the great mentalist realm. Li Jun paused, then added casually. Still, young Master Wang. Word says Miss Lu possesses an exceedingly proud disposition. During the martial examination, Chu Yun won their public bet, yet instead of growing hostile toward him, she personally traveled to Jiangxing to invite him here. Could there perhaps be something more between them? He left the rest unspoken, yet his implication was crystal clear. Wang Zikai's smile turned cold. His jade thumb ring halted with a click, and frost crept into his tone. Qingxue was merely misled for a moment by that boy's petty tricks. Once inside the secret realm, she will see for herself what real strength looks like, and what kind of person deserves to stand beside her. Quite right. Without your assistance, young Master Wang, Miss Lu will surely struggle. After she suffers setbacks and hardships inside the secret realm, her arrogance will wear down. Then she will see reality and understand where her choices ought to lie. Li Jun bowed slightly toward Wang Zikai, his tone suggestive. Allow me to offer my congratulations in advance on winning Miss Lu's hand. When may we expect to attend your wedding banquet? A proposed political marriage between the Wang and Lu clans was widely known among the four great clans. Li Jun played to Wang Zikai's desires, hoping to forge connections. Wang Zikai laughed aloud, spinning his jade thumb ring rapidly, brimming with absolute confidence. Rest assured, brotherly, when that day comes, you will most certainly have a seat at the feast. I thank you in advance, young Master Wang. Laughter and flattery echoed from the surrounding onlookers. Not far away, among the Zhao clan party, Zhao Yueli leaned against an armored vehicle. She wore fiery red fitted combat attire that highlighted her striking figure. Nothing but buzzing flies, she muttered with a scoff to a quiet young woman in black beside her. That useless Wang boy imagines Lu Qingxue is his for the taking. Ridiculous. The young woman in black asked softly. Miss, what of this Chu Yun the Lu family has brought? An 18-year-old martial master. Zhao Yueli narrowed her eyes, tapping her fingernails against the car window. Dragon Nation has not seen such a monster in many years. Even so, that alone will not be enough to shield Lu Qingxue from Wang Zikai. A curious glint flashed in her eyes. I truly wonder how that ice-cold Lu Qingxue ended up seeking him out. Rumbling engine noise echoed from the secret realm entrance. An armored off-road vehicle rumbled over gravel, kicking up dust, and pulled to a halt at the edge of the clearing. The doors opened. Chu Yun jumped out first, dressed in black athletic wear. His gaze swept briefly across the assembled young faces, his expression calm and unperturbed. Moments later, Lu Qingxue stepped out from the opposite side of the vehicle. She also wore black athletic wear, yet the outfit lent her an air of icy grace. Her long hair was tied into a high ponytail at the back of her head, exposing her fair and slender neck. The two stood side by side, dressed identically and equally young, creating a strange sense of harmony beneath the midday sun. The entire crowd fell abruptly silent. Every pair of eyes swiveled towards them in unison. That's Chu Yin, the top scorer of Jiangxing's martial examination. He looks so young. Is he really an 18-year-old martial master? Could this all be hype? The helper Miss Lu brought along doesn't look all that reliable. He doesn't even carry a proper weapon. He's certainly good-looking. No wonder the young lady of the Lu family. Chill. Keep your voice down. Wang Zikai is watching over there. In the northwest corner, the smile had long faded from Wang Zikai's face. He rose slowly, his gaze shifting back and forth between Chu Yun and Lu Qingxue. When he saw their matching tracksuits, a cold glint flashed deep in his pupils. Hey you! Wang Zikai suddenly spoke. His voice was not loud, yet it carried clearly across the open ground. All whispers died away at once. Chu Yun lifted his eyes and looked over. Their gazes locked. Wang Zikai's brows knitted into a tight frown. He raised his right hand and pointed straight at Chu Yun. You, I'm talking to you. Who told you to stand so close? Do you even deserve to be near Qingxue? What gives you the right to wear the same clothes as her? The words had barely left his mouth when Wang Zikai's vital energy erupted violently. 900 points of vital energy surged forth without restraint, generating visible crimson energy waves in the air. The shockwave rippled outward from him, stirring up sand and gravel across the ground. Faced with this furious outburst, Chu Yun stood rooted to the spot, appearing momentarily stunned. He glanced down at himself. His hands rested calmly in the pockets of his track pants. He was keeping a normal social distance from Lu Qingxue. The tracksuits had been provided by Lu Qingxue. This was a temporary camp out in the wilderness. Where else was he supposed to get another set of clothes? He felt utterly speechless. Was this man deliberately picking a fight, or had he lost his mind? Still, he had never believed in swallowing insults for the sake of peace. He would not endure being berated out of nowhere. A faint smirk tugged at the corner of Chu Yun's mouth. Then he did something that left every onlooker dumbfounded. He stretched out his left arm, slipped it around Lu Qingshue's waist, and gently drew her toward him until she stood close beside him. Lu Qingshue's body stiffened instantly. She could feel the warmth of his hand through the fabric, broad-palmed, long-fingered, holding her firmly yet gently at her waist. Warm male presence wrapped around her, carrying an unmistakable sense of authority. The tips of her ears flushed red in plain sight. Her heart hammered wildly, and her mind went completely blank. She instinctively tried to pull away, yet her body refused to obey her will. "Play along," Chu Yun murmured, his voice soft enough for only her to hear. "I'll deduct this favor from the resources allocated to me over the next 4 years." The next 4 years, resources deduct? What on earth was he talking about? To act like this in full view of everyone. What was he doing? Lu Qingshue's thoughts ground to a halt. She could barely form coherent ideas, only processing his baffling words as she stared up at his profile, so close to her own. Stunned silence hung over the crowd, followed by a chorus of sharp intakes of breath. Zhao Yueli, who had been polishing her longsword, lifted her eyes toward the scene, surprise written across her face. Now this is going to be quite a show. Everyone present knew Lu Qingxue was Wang Zikai's soft spot. And here was this young man from a small city, right in front of Wang Zikai and all the scions of the great clans, drawing the girl Wang Zikai regarded as his intended close to himself in such a bold, provocative manner. It was no different from publicly slapping him across the face. A blatant challenge. "You're asking to die?" Wang Zikai's face turned livid. His eyes burned, fixed on Chu Yun's hand resting on Lu Qingshue's waist, killing intent nearly becoming tangible in his pupils. Though the marriage between the Wang and Lu families was rooted in political interests, Wang Zikai had known since he first met Lu Qingxue at the age of 12 that she was the woman he intended to marry. How dared some nobody from Jiangxing interfere with what Wang Zikai had set his sights on? Word of this would bring humiliation upon the entire Wang family. The jade thumb, ring on his finger snapped with a crisp crack, crushed by his rage-fueled grip. "I challenge you to a duel." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. "I've seen his file. He only has a little over 500 vital energy points. There's a huge gap between them. 900 vital energy points. Picking on someone weaker hardly makes him look honorable, even if he wins." The Wang family clearly wants to assert their dominance here. Zhao Yueli set down her black sword and stood, folding her arms across her chest. "Have you no shame, Wang Zikai? 900 vital energy points against barely 600. You are just bullying someone who does not want trouble." Wang Zikai spun around, bloodshot eyes blazing at her. "Zhao Yueli, this does not concern you. Stay out of it." Zhao Yueli let out a mocking laugh and made a dismissive gesture. She then turned toward Chu Yun, speaking bluntly. "Don't pay him any mind. This area falls under military jurisdiction. Wang Zikai has no right to throw his weight around here." Though both belonged to the 4 great clans, the Wangs and Zhaos were long-standing rivals. Their business interests constantly clashed, and they schemed against one another at every turn. Zhao Yueli held genuine contempt for Wang Zikai, the spoiled heir who abused his minor psychic gifts to bully others. She was thoroughly enjoying seeing someone stand up to him. It was the perfect chance to knock his arrogance down a peg, to remind him that the Wang family was not the sole power among the great clans. On the hillside, a young officer leaned in beside Song Qingtian and lowered his voice. "Sir, the secret realm will open soon. Should I step in and stop this?" "Not yet." Song Qingtian stood with his hands clasped behind his back, his deep eyes locked firmly on Chu Yun in the clearing. "Let us first see whether this new top scorer is as extraordinary as Zhou Yin claims." No sooner had he finished speaking than chaos erupted in the open ground. "Then all of you can burn in hell." Completely overcome by fury, Wang Zikai roared. His eyes blazed crimson, and overwhelming psychic pressure exploded forth without restraint. 950 psychic points, the peak of the psychic master rank. An invisible mental tide crashed down like a towering mountain, sweeping over every person present. The air seemed to solidify, light itself growing heavy. Younger scions from lesser clans collapsed to their knees, their legs failing beneath them. Every single person on the grounds was trapped beneath this unreasonable mental oppression. Zhao Yueli bore the brunt of it. It felt as though a mountain had crashed onto her shoulders. Her knees buckled. The stony ground beneath her feet caved in, her soul sinking 10 centimeters deep into craters she had stamped into the earth. Gritting her teeth, she swore. Wang Zikai, you've lost your mind. She reached to draw her black sword, intending to cut through the psychic suppression. Then she caught sight of Chu Yun in the center of the clearing, and her eyes went wide. He stood there perfectly composed, his arms still steady around Lu Qingshua's waist. Not the slightest trace of strain showed on his face. He did not even furrow his brow. The psychic storm that could crush ordinary warriors was nothing more than a gentle breeze to him. Against a grand psychic master such as Chu Yun, a psychic master, great mental pressure was as harmless as cotton candy. Leaning close beside him, Lu Qingxue could feel an invisible mental barrier emanating from Chu Yun. It blocked out Wang Zikai's frenzied outburst, shielding her completely. The sight stunned every witness. This young top scorer from Jiangcheng, privately dismissed by many noble heirs as an upstart, now stood unshaken amid raging turmoil like an anchor in a storm. How is he unaffected by Wang Zikai's psychic pressure, which can overwhelm ordinary martial masters? He is still standing close to Lu Qingxue. Is he courting death? That boy is sharp. He is counting on Wang Zikai not daring to injure Lu Qingxue, so he is using her as a buffer. Wang Zikai himself was shocked. He had held absolutely nothing back with that mental assault, directing it at the entire crowd. Blinded by rage, he had given no thought to collateral harm. Lu Qingxue ought to have crumpled to the ground. So why was this young man? Something was very wrong. There was something uncanny about him. Rage distorted Wang Zikai's features. At that very moment, Chu Yun moved. Chu Yun withdrew his arm from around Lu Qingshue's waist in a natural motion. In the next instant, his figure vanished. No one present could track his movement. Only Song Qingtian on the hillside narrowed his eyes slightly. In the blink of an eye, Chu Yun stood directly before Wang Zikai. 1,000 vital energy points flared to full power. The 8-extremity prison, subduing art activated at maximum output. Chu Yun clenched his right fist. Pitch black, condensed inner force coalesced over his knuckles, radiating an awe-inspiring aura of suppression. No fancy techniques, merely a straightforward straight punch. Boom. His fist landed solidly against Wang Zikai's abdomen. A deafening crash echoed like thunder. Compressed air billowed outward in visible white shock waves. Wang Zikai could not even scream. His body arched like a shrimp as he was launched backward, feet leaving the ground, flying away at terrifying speed. He slammed into the mountainside 100 meters away. A 2-meter-wide human-shaped indentation was smashed into the solid rock face. At the same moment, the psychic pressure weighing on everyone vanished instantly. The crowd gasped for air in relief, staring in horror at the young man still holding his punching stance. One punch. Wang Zikai, peak, rank martial master, got sent flying with a single punch. Wasn't he supposed to only have 500 vital energy points? No one with 500 points could unleash that level of force. Zhao Yueli pulled her feet free from the ground, her jaw hanging open. She turned toward the young woman in black beside her. Am I imagining this? The young woman in black shook her head, her voice dry with shock. No, that punch carried power matching a grand martial master. Zhao Yueli drew a deep breath. Her whole perspective on Chu Yun shifted. He really is a monster. Chu Yun slowly lowered his fist, a faint frown crossing his face. He glanced down at his knuckles. The impact had felt odd. It had been less like striking flesh and more like slamming into thick steel plating. At least half his force had been absorbed by some defensive item. Body armor. And high-grade armor at that. 1 tier superior to frost scale. Cough, cough, cough. Violent coughing rang out through the dust and rubble. A figure staggered out of the debris. It was Wang Zikai. His complexion was ashen, blood trickling from the corner of his mouth. His martial uniform was torn open across the chest, revealing a dark, gold close-fitting soft armor underneath. In his right hand hovered a blue psychic lightning spear, crackling with arcs of electricity, brimming with terrifying destructive power. Die! Wang Zikai roared. The lightning spear tore through the air at blistering velocity. The space along its path faintly warped. A split second before the spear tip would have pierced Chu Yun's forehead, another far more terrifying afterimage ripped through space, moving faster than thought to block in front of him. Halt! A thunderous shout boomed, reverberating through the valley. Song Qingtian waved one hand and shattered the incoming lightning spear. Chu Yun's pupils constricted sharply. He had long sensed the presence of this being far above great grandmaster level. That was why he had acted so fearlessly. Yet when the middle-aged warrior stood directly before him, the immense gap in their cultivation gave him an overwhelming impression. This was hardly a mere human. He was an immemorial sacred mountain, a blazing sun hanging high in the heavens. Majestic, vast, unfathomably deep. This was the highest-ranking military combatant listed in Lu Qingshue's files, the martial king, Song Qingtian. Blinded by bloodlust, Wang Zikai paid no mind to who had intervened. He strode forward, tilting his head to challenge him. Sir Song, what is the meaning of this? Song Qingtian's eyes turned cold. Irresistible pressure rolled outward from him, forcing Wang Zikai stumbling backward 7 or 8 steps, nearly falling flat on the ground. You start trouble on my territory and dare ask for my meaning? Song Qingtian's voice was ice cold. Wang Zikai, you hold me, a martial king, in far too little regard. If not for the respect I bear for your grandfather, I would revoke your qualification right now, and no one would dare question my decision. Wang Zikai's lips twitched repeatedly, yet he dared not retort further. Though heir to the powerful Wang clan, whose elders included martial kings and whose patriarch was a martial sovereign, he was not arrogant enough to provoke a martial king to his face. Still, he stored this grievance deep in his heart. Once inside the secret realm and finished with Chu Yun, he would go to his grandfather and have Song Qingtian removed from his post. You have guts, boy. Inside the secret realm, we shall settle this. Wang Zikai threw out the threat and turned to leave. A subordinate from the Wang family hurried forward to support him, only to be violently kicked away. Listen well, all of you. Song Qingtian swept his gaze across the crowd, his tone sharp and stern. Anyone who stirs up further trouble before the secret realm opens will have their access to the Kanglan secret realm revoked without exception. Then his gaze shifted toward Chu Yun. The sharpness in his eyes softened, faint approval flickering within them. So you are Chu Yun. Not bad. Those few words sent ripples of shock through every onlooker. Song Qingtian was a martial king and high-ranking military authority. To earn even one word of praise from him was exceedingly rare. Now he had given that praise to this youth from Jiangqing. Come, to my tent. I wish to speak with you in private. Song Qingtian turned and strode toward the military encampment. Chu Yun nodded faintly and followed behind his mountain-like figure. Only then did the onlookers in the clearing dare draw full breaths. Sir Song summoned him to the tent. For a private conversation? This young man's fortunes are surely about to soar. An audience personally granted by a martial king. What extraordinary treatment is this? Inside the military tent, furnishings were Spartan. A field desk stood alongside several chairs. A huge military topographical map of the Kanglan mountain range hung on the wall, covered in dense red and blue flags marking numerous abyss-type secret realms. Song Qingtian removed his military cap and set it down on the desk, gesturing for Chu Yun to take a seat. Chu Yun sat upright, his gaze steady and level. Song Qingtian observed his poised, unyielding bearing and wore a slight smile. I speak plainly and cut to the chase. I summoned you for one reason only. Would you be willing to join the military? Chu Yun was caught off guard. He had imagined many possible reasons for this private meeting. Questions about his concealed strength, a stern warning, or inquiries regarding his relationship with Lu Qingxue. He had never anticipated a recruitment offer. Surprised? Song Qingtian noticed his reaction and chuckled. Quite. Chu Yun answered honestly. Zhou Yin sent me all your data, martial examination footage, vital energy readings, combat performance. Song Qingtian pulled out a tablet from a drawer and tapped through its files. He speaks extremely highly of you, calling you the most promising talent he has seen in over a decade. He lifted his eyes toward Chu Yun, his gaze piercing. If you ask me, Zhou Yin wasted more than 10 years as director of the Martial Administration Bureau. Chu Yun raised an eyebrow. An 18-year-old martial master? Song Qingtian let out a scoff. That punch you threw just now carried Grand Martial Master, level vital energy, well over 1,000 points. You have already condensed a vital energy crystal core within your dantian, have you not? Chu Yun remained silent for a moment and offered no denial. Now that his true strength had been exposed, there was no point in continuing to hide it. Trying to outwit a martial king would be nothing short of asking for humiliation. Song Qingtian's pupils contracted slightly. Even for a man of his self-control, Chu Yun's admission stirred considerable amazement within him. 18 years old, Grand Martial Master, and also a Psychic Master. A dual path genius. Song Qingtian drew a long, deep breath and exhaled slowly. 18, Grand Martial Master and Psychic Master both. He shook his head, unable to suppress his grin. In the whole history of Dragon Country, there has never been anyone like you. Truly unprecedented, and there may never be another. He stepped forward to stand before Chu Yun, genuine admiration in his eyes. A talent destined to leave a mark in history. How could I pass up the chance to recruit you? Chu Yun did not rush to give his answer. He weighed the possibilities quickly in his mind. Joining the military would mean abundant resources, higher authority, and a powerful patron. Yet it would also bring heavier responsibilities, strict discipline, and tangled political faction conflicts. He was not the sort to make impulsive, reckless promises. Sir Song. Chu Yun spoke, respectful yet unyielding. In 2 months, I will enroll at Kyoto Martial University. Joining the military would create practical conflicts with my studies. That is no problem at all. Song Qingtian waved a hand. He had clearly prepared for this objection. Attending university and military service are not mutually exclusive. Think of it as a part-time affiliation. You will attend classes and cultivate just as you planned. It's just that the merit points you earn will be recorded under our side. You know, the military has annual assessment targets. Exceptional talents like you get special recruitment offers. You only need to give your consent. He paused and held up one finger. Personally, I will transfer 10,000 merit points to you right away. You will also be granted level 1 access to the Dragon Martial Mall. What do you say? 10,000 merit points. Equivalent to 100 million Longwa coins. He offered it without the slightest hesitation. Thanks to Lu Qingxue over the past 2 days, Chu Yun already knew quite a lot about the Dragon Martial Mall. Level 1 access meant he could purchase 95% of all goods inside the mall. That included heavenly grade and earthly grade martial arts techniques, mental cultivation methods, pills, weapons, and all kinds of rare items unavailable on the open market. This went far beyond mere generosity. He was pulling out all the stops. Chu Yun pondered for a moment and asked, "What effect will it have on me if my merit points are recorded under the military?" "None at all," Song Qingtian replied crisply. "You can use and spend them however you like. The only difference is that merit points from your completed missions will go to the military ledger instead of the Martial Administration Bureau. In that case, I have no objections." Chu Yun agreed without delay. It was not that he lacked resolve. The offer was simply too tempting. A smile tugged at Song Qingtian's mouth. He pulled a prepared appointment letter out of a drawer and pushed it across the table. "Sign your name and press your fingerprint." Chu Yun took the pen, skimmed through the contents of the letter quickly, signed his name, and pressed it onto the red ink pad. "Very well, wait a moment." Song Qingtian took back the letter and nodded in satisfaction before pulling out his phone. "Done. The merit points have been transferred." Chu Yun checked his own phone to confirm, then continued asking, "By the way, what was the origin of that blue electric spear Wang Zikai used earlier?" Song Qingtian shot him a glance. "Are you worried Wang Zikai will target you inside the secret realm?" "I just want to understand it," Chu Yun said evenly. "That is the Wang family's ancestral heavenly, grade top-tier mental cultivation art, purple lightning, divine thunder." Song Qingtian held nothing back. "Wang Zikai is quite gifted. He has mastered that lightning spear technique to great perfection. As for its power, you felt it for yourself. Even with your frost scale armor, it might not hold up if you take a direct hit." Chu Yun's eyes narrowed slightly. "Heavenly grade top-tier. No wonder he was so arrogant. I am only at a disadvantage because I lack high-level martial arts and mental arts. 8 Extremes Prison, suppressing force still falls short. If I possessed even an earthly grade art, that punch earlier would have kept Wang Zikai bedridden for 10 days or half a month. Still, you need not worry too much." Song Qingtian shifted to a more relaxed tone. "I will spread the news of your military-affiliated status right away. Even if Wang Zikai were wildly reckless, he would never dare attack someone affiliated with the military." Chu Yun said nothing. "Won't he move against me? But I intend to move against him. Every day that man draws breath irritates me. For the sake of unobstructed state of mind, he will have to meet his end once we enter the secret realm." "Chief Song," Chu Yun spoke again. "Do you have any mental cultivation arts here?" Song Qingtian blinked, then realized what he meant. Still feeling unsafe? Chu Yun neither confirmed nor denied, merely smiled faintly. Song Qingtian shook his head, his expression a mix of helplessness and admiration. "I do have some, but isn't this rather last minute? The secret realm will open in merely 3 or 4 hours. No matter how great your talent is, you cannot properly master a high-tier mental art in such a short span." He paused and took out a silver bracelet from his storage ring, strung at intervals with 9 peanut-sized green gemstones. "This is the Spirit Guarding Bracelet. It can block a full power strike from a peak mental master. It can withstand 2 or 3 blows even from a grand mental master. For 10,000 merit points. What do you think?" Chu Yun glanced at the bracelet. Defensive gear against mental attacks. Truly a fine treasure. Yet he did not reach for it. For cultivators of higher realms facing those of lower realms, offense is the best form of defense. I would still prefer a mental cultivation art. Song Qingtian stared at him for 2 seconds before sighing and putting the bracelet away. He pulled out a thin, ancient manuscript from his storage ring. No characters marked its cover, only an aged flame pattern whose lines looked as though they might burn off the page at any instant. This is earthly, grade top, tier mental art, true fire formula. This art cultivates spiritual fire. Once perfected, you condense true fire from spiritual power to burn souls and scorch spirits. Its power rivals the Wang family's purple lightning, divine thunder. Song Qingtian handed over the manuscript, his tone turning solemn. However, it demands extremely high spiritual aptitude from practitioners. Most people cannot even achieve initial entry, let alone perfection. I tried it myself years ago. I spent 3 months and could not conjure even a single spark. He paused and looked straight into Chu Yun's eyes. You have already reached mental master at such a young age. Your talent surpasses mine. You ought to be capable. This will also cost you 10,000 merit points. Chu Yun took the manuscript. The moment his fingertips brushed the cover, heat surged within his spiritual sea between his brows. He flipped open to the first page, where ancient characters greeted his eyes. Spirit serves as fuel, will serves as flame. Burn away all illusion, and true fire shall awaken. Waves of scorching aura washed over him, resonating faintly with the spiritual fire inside his Niwan palace. He quickly closed the manuscript, tucked it inside his robes, and transferred the newly received 10,000 merit points back at once. Thank you, Chief Song. Song Qingtian waved his hand, his tone turning stern all of a sudden. Remember this, you must return alive from the secret realm. I would hate to receive your casualty notice right after recruiting such a promising talent. Chu Yun stood and nodded firmly. Understood. Off you go to make your preparations, Song Qingtian chuckled. Your young lady is waiting outside. She is probably growing impatient. There is a misunderstanding, Chief Song, Chu Yun said awkwardly. She is not my girlfriend. Lu Qingxue is my employer. All right. Young people, I understand well enough. Song Qingtian laughed heartily and clapped Chu Yun on the shoulder, his eyes full of approval. After Chu Yun left, Song Qingtian stood at the tent entrance watching his receding figure and muttered to himself. Zhou Yin, you truly have sent me a raw gem this time. Midday sunlight flooded the camp's central open ground as Chu Yun stepped out of the military tent. Lu Qingxue stood beneath the shade of a tree, her gaze fixed steadily on the tent entrance. When she saw Chu Yun emerge, she instinctively took 2 steps forward, halted on her 3rd step, and regained her usual cool composure. You are finished speaking? What did Chief Song? Her voice was quieter than usual. He tried to recruit me into the military. Chu Yun kept it concise and recounted roughly everything that had passed between him and Song Qingtian. Lu Qingxue's brows drew together in a frown once she heard him out. She thought for a moment before speaking. Chief Song is always prudent. With military status shielding you, Wang Zikai will not dare attack you openly within the secret realm. Still, open spears are easy to dodge, but hidden arrows are hard to guard against. She paused, resolve flashing across her beautiful eyes as she looked straight at Chu Yun. What if you do not enter the secret realm? I will honor our agreed payment in full, together with 4 years of resources from the Lu family. I shall not go back on my word. Lu Qingxue knew Wang Zikai's character all too well. He was narrow-minded and never forgave a slight. Her worries were well-founded. Are you worried about me? Chu Yun teased. I am not joking. Wang Zikai will. Chu Yun cut her off, his smile fading. Say no more. I gave you my word, and I will not quit halfway. Why should I avoid Wang Zikai? The most important thing right now is for you to find me a quiet place, preferably one fitted with an isolation formation. I need to focus on cultivation before the secret realm opens. Seeing his earnest expression, Lu Qingxue felt caught between relief and anxiety. Why was this young man always so calm and self-assured, as if nothing in this world could trouble him? Could he truly find a way to defeat Wang Zikai within 2 or 3 hours? Wang Zikai was a peak mental master. Even if Chu Yun broke through to Grand Martial Master, spiritual power suppression still held sway. Had Chief Song given him some spiritual, defensive artifact? Regardless, Lu Qingxue could only place her trust in Chu Yun for now. Follow me. She said no more and led him quickly across the camp toward a remote tent in the southeast corner. The tent was made of special silver, gray canvas, faint energy ripples circulating across its surface. This is a temporary camp brought by the Lu family. It houses the complete 9, Palace 8, trigram formation. Lu Qingxue lifted the tent curtain. It blocks outside detection and suppresses energy fluctuations. Cultivate in peace. I will stand guard outside. Thank you. Chu Yun nodded and ducked inside. The tent interior was compact and simply furnished. Only a straw meditation cushion and an incense lamp were present. A faint cedar scent hung in the air, calming the mind. Chu Yun sat cross-legged on the cushion and took out the yellowed True Fire formula manuscript. The instant his fingertips touched the cover, the spiritual fire inside his Niwen palace burned hotter, responding to a kindred call. He drew a deep breath and opened the manuscript. Spirit serves as fuel, will serves as flame. Burn away all illusion, and true fire shall awaken. The 8 ancient characters were forceful, seeming to embody profound universal truths. Chu Yun closed his eyes and sank his consciousness into his sea of consciousness. Deep within it floated a dragon, eye-sized mass of spiritual fire radiating gentle light. Surrounding it, several prison-suppressing runes circled slowly like satellites orbiting a star. First year, Chu Yun wisped off a thread of spiritual power and fed it into the spiritual fire following the manuscript's instructions. Hiss! It dissolved into nothing. Nothing remained. 10th year. He had grown adept at feeding spiritual power into the fire for refinement. Each refinement made the spiritual fire marginally stronger. Yet he was still an enormous distance away from condensing true fire. The manuscript made it clear. Cultivating the true fire formula meant burning one's own spiritual power as fuel, using will as a bellows to ignite a purer flame. This flame did not belong to the material world. It arose at the intersection of spirit and will. It consumed spiritual power for kindling. That explained why Song Qingtian could not conjure even a spark after 3 months of practice. It was not lack of talent, but insufficiently deep spiritual power foundation to endure this self-immolating refinement. Chu Yun was different. His spiritual power had been tempered for more than 1,500 years by the prison-suppressing meditation art, condensed as solid as steel. It surpassed the accumulations of any genius who had cultivated their whole lifetime. 60th year. A needle, sharp, dark red speck formed at the core of the spiritual fire. It was the embryonic form of true fire. Chu Yun could sense terrifying power sealed within that tiny speck. True Fire Formula, initial entry. 90th year. He gained rudimentary command over true fire. A hair, thin wisp seeped from his fingertips and could burn steadily for 1 full minute. True Fire Formula, minor accomplishment. 120th year. Dark, red true fire bloomed in his palm like a fully opened peach blossom, every petal radiating intimidating heat. At his thought, the peach-shaped fire dispersed and flowed back into his Niwen palace as strands of dark, red spiritual power. True Fire Formula, great accomplishment. 150th year. Disaster struck without warning. The true fire that had burned peacefully for 90 years suddenly went berserk. Scorching heat that threatened to burn heaven and earth exploded outward from his brows, flooding his entire Niwen palace in an instant. Backlash. The True Fire Formula's backlash. An invisible hand seized Chu Yun's consciousness and dragged him down into endless dark abyss. His surroundings shifted. He stood inside the basement of the Chu family mansion. Damp, cold air clung to everything, and mildewed bedding gave off a revolting stench. Outside the door came Chu Hao's soft laughter, Chu Xiaomon's sharp jeers, and Lu Qingwan's icy rebukes. Worthless trash. A good, for nothing with merely 1.3 qi and blood. How dare you bear the surname Chu? You cannot even feed yourself once you leave this household. Every word cut like a blade, stabbing deep into his heart. These were not his own memories. They belonged to the original host. Humiliation, resentment, and despair long buried beneath consciousness were unearthed by the true fire, forged into sharp weapons aimed straight at his heart of Tao. Am I going to die again? After gaining a new lease on life and acquiring his special power, would he perish consumed by this cultivation art? I refuse to accept this. I absolutely refuse. At this critical moment between life and death, deep within his sea of consciousness, the bronze ancient prison floating in eternal darkness stirred. On the prison gate, the sealed vertical eye slowly opened once more. Within the divine court stands a prison, to suppress all myriad thoughts of the self. Clang. 9 massive bronze chains stretched forth out of the void and plunged straight into the sea of fire. The chains reverberated with metallic clamor. The sea of fire raged and struggled to break free, yet the bronze chains tightened relentlessly, suppressing the flames inch by inch. In the end, the raging fire was compressed into a fist-sized purple fireball hanging before the ancient bronze prison. Chu Yun's consciousness reassembled as if waking from an endless nightmare. He opened his inner eyes, and gazed at the quiet purple flame floating before him. It no longer raged. It had submitted. Ding. Insight gained. Samadhi true fire. Beyond true fire lies Samadhi. The first is Lord Fire, fire of the heart. The second is Minister Fire, fire of the kidneys. The third is People Fire, fire from the lower dantian. The three fires unified form Samadhi true fire. This fire has no physical form. It burns not material things, but souls alone. Chuyin opened his physical eyes. The tint remained dim, the pale cyan light membrane of the 8 trigram mirror rotating slowly overhead. He snapped his fingers. Purple fire trickled out from his fingertips, silent and invisible. He tried setting fire to part of the tent canvas. The fabric remained untouched. He tested it against the 8 trigram mirror above, still no reaction. Yet he knew the moment this flame touched a living being, it would unleash its terrible killing power. True fire. Samadhi true fire capable of incinerating souls. The system spoke true. Compared to this skill the system itself had logged 8 extremes prison, suppressing force paled in comparison. He inhaled deeply and exhaled slowly. 150 years subjective time. 2.5 hours real, world time. It had been well worth it. As Chuyin lifted the tent curtain, bright sunlight and mountain breeze swept in together. Lu Qingxue stood 3 meters away with her back toward the tent, her ponytail swaying in the wind. She turned around upon hearing the noise. Her gaze lingered on Chu Yun's face for a second before her brows drew together faintly. You, she hesitated. Something about you is different. Chu Yun smiled. Different in what way? Lu Qingxue could not put it into words. The young man before her looked exactly the same. Unchanged features, unchanged clothes, unchanged posture. Yet something fundamental had shifted. It was his eyes. There was a new sense of absolute certainty within them. Not simple self-confidence nor arrogance. Something deeper. As though he had just fought and won an invisible battle and knew he would keep on winning from now onward. Nothing. Lu Qingxue looked away, reverting to her usual cool tone. The time draws near. The secret realm gateway has lit up. Chuyin glanced toward the central open ground. Sure enough, the previously half-veiled secret realm entrance was violently oscillating. The portal's light curtain shifted from pale blue to deep violet, rippling outward like water disturbed by a tossed stone. Members of the great clans had gathered on the open ground before the gateway, talking quietly in small groups. Wang Zikai stood at the very front. He wore a fresh, white martial arts uniform, his hair neatly combed, all traces of blood wiped from his face. Once more he bore the haughty air of a young clan heir. Their gazes met in mid-air. Wang Zikai shouted no threats, showed no excess emotion. He merely raised his right hand slowly and drew his thumb across his own throat. Chuyin looked away calmly. He had already picked out Wang Zikai's final resting place in his mind. Zhao Yueli walked over, her fiery, red battle outfit standing out vividly among the crowd. Be careful inside the secret realm. Wang Zikai has brought some special items in with him. Chuyin turned toward her. What exactly do you mean, Miss Zhao? Exactly what I said. Zhao Yueli blinked. Also, you do not need to be so formal. Call me Yueli. I am far easier to talk to than I see Lu Qingxue over there. Lu Qingxue stood beside them, her face impassive, not gracing Zhao Yueli with so much as a glance. Is that so? A hint of mischief colored Chu Yun's tone. You know, being overly forward does not always leave a good impression. That depends entirely on who it is directed toward. Zhao Yueli laced her hands behind her back and rose slightly onto her toes. For a fine young man like you, I have to take initiative, otherwise I might never get the chance to speak with you. Chuyin laughed. Truly, Miss Zhao knows how to speak. Do go on. There are some things a girl cannot bring herself to say openly in front of others. A natural look of gentle shyness crossed Zhao Yueli's features. Let us add each other's chat contacts. We can continue our conversation in private. Seeing them chatting animatedly, Lu Qingxue could bear it no longer. She stepped firmly between the two of them. The secret realm will open any moment now, Zhao Yueli. You would do better to focus on surviving this trial. Zhao Yueli glanced at her and smiled meaningfully. Why so defensive? It is only adding contacts. I am not going to snatch him away from you. Lu Qingxue's ears flushed red. Nonsense. He is not my boyfriend at all. Even better then, Zhao Yueli's smile broadened. Just as she had suspected, the pair were not lovers, or at least had not acknowledged their mutual feelings. Even so, there was clearly a subtle bond between them. It hardly looked like Chu Yun was pursuing Lu Qingxue. Instead, it seemed as if Lu Qingxue was chasing after Chu Yun. This was utterly baffling. Lu Qingxue, who kept all young men at arm's length, was actually taking the initiative toward a man? She had to admit Chu Yun was extraordinarily handsome, but Lu Qingxue was no less outstanding. In terms of family background, beauty, and natural talent, she ranked among the very best across the Dragon Nation. She even surpassed most others by a fair margin. What kind of charm did this Chu Yun possess to win Lu Qingxue's heart? Zhao Yueli was not the only one confused. Lu Qingxue's own feelings toward Chu Yun were extremely complicated. Respect, gratitude, trust, and a hint of admiration? Lu Qingxue herself could not put it into words. The secret realm passage has opened. Chu Yun's voice snapped the two women out of their thoughts. Zhao Yueli and Lu Qingxue turned their gazes simultaneously toward the center of the open ground. The secret realm passage shook more and more violently. A purple light curtain expanded outward, as though something that had slumbered for 10,000 years was awakening. Song Qingtian's booming voice echoed down from the hillside. Everyone, form lines in order. Once inside the secret realm, its rules will activate automatically. Anyone at Grandmaster rank or higher will have their cultivation suppressed to Great Martial Master realm. The secret realm holds countless unknown restrictions and native savage beasts. The military will not be responsible for your personal safety. Your lives are your own. Do what you must to survive. The instant his voice faded, the Wang clan party moved first. Wang Zikai took the lead, charging toward the glowing gate with 4 clansmen and his bodyguard He Chong. His figure flashed across the light curtain and vanished. Right after them came the Li clan, followed by parties from smaller families, filing through one after another. What bad timing. Looks like our talk will have to wait for another day. Before leaving, Zhao Yueli glanced back toward him. Make sure you make it out alive, handsome. It would be a real shame if you didn't. With that, her red silhouette drifted away. Lu Qingxue wore an exasperated expression. Chu Yun paid it no mind. He looked over at Lu Qingxue's profile. Scared, Lu Qingxue froze for a moment, then met his gaze firmly. Yes. Of what? Wang Zikai or Zhao Yueli? I'm afraid we won't find the cold marrow. Chu Yun fell silent for 1 second, then chuckled. Let's go. If we cannot find it, I will help you look. And when we do, the promised resources will be doubled. Lu Qingxue glanced sideways at him. Within her cool, clear eyes, something indistinct flickered faintly. You really have quite the bold streak. Chu Yun did not argue. He slipped both hands into his pockets and walked toward the secret realm entrance. Lu Qingxue followed close behind. Standing on the hillside, Song Qingtian watched the last figure disappear into the gateway. He lit a cigarette, drew a deep breath, and slowly exhaled the smoke. Zhou Yan, he muttered under his breath as smoke swirled before his eyes. What will become of this unpolished gem you sent me? Everything depends on him now. There was no sun in the sky over the azure ripple water mansion. Even so, soft Palacian light poured down from all directions, illuminating this boundless shallow water world. Ripples shimmered across the endless expanse of water. Chu Yun looked down at the shallow water lapping at his ankles. Palacian sky light reflected on the surface, revealing fine white sand covering the riverbed. He crouched and touched the so-called sand beneath the water. It felt rough. They were bone fragments. Countless shattered bones had lain here for ages, their edges worn smooth by currents, ground down by time until they resembled sand. During the Great War of the past, millions of abyss demonic beasts perished right here in the Azure Ripple Water Mansion. Lu Qingxue said from beside him. 200 years ago, when martial artists first explored this place, the bones on the riverbed stacked 3 meters high. Decades of clearance work followed before the ground was exposed. Chu Yun stood and gazed far into the distance. At last he saw the vast river stretching out before him. The Iron Thread River. A 1,000-meter-wide black expanse cutting straight across the entire field of vision, splitting this shallow water world in two. The blackness was not water. It was countless finger-thick mutated iron thread worms tangled together, layered and dense, slowly writhing and producing a skin-crawling rustling sound. Every so often, one of the iron threads rose above the river's surface like a black whip, cracking sharply through the air before sinking back into the swarming mass. Mutated iron thread worms. Lu Qingxue frowned slightly. Each one possesses the physical vigor of a quasi-martial artist, with shells as hard as alloy steel. The worst part is they live in swarms. Attack one, and you draw the wrath of the entire river's worm horde. Even a grandmaster would not survive 10 seconds if they fell in. Chu Yun's gaze crossed the Iron Thread River toward the opposite bank. Faintly visible was a stone stairway leading upward toward the dark entrance of a valley. Dense rows of swords jutted out from both valley walls. A sword mount. Even across this kilometer-wide river of worms, he could sense the sharp aura emanating from that place. A pure, piercing edge, as if the air itself had been sliced open by those blades. The Iron Thread River stretches for hundreds of kilometers. If we head east for 5 days or west for 4 days, we can circle around it. Lu Qingshue's voice remained calm, though a trace of unease lingered beneath. Yet the secret realm will only stay open for roughly 1 month. Circling around would eat up 8 or 9 days of our time. She paused and looked toward Chu Yun. What is your plan? We cross the river. Chu Yun answered crisply. Wasting time is out of the question. They still needed to venture deep into the water mansion, traverse the sword mound, travel to the Thousand Mist Sea, and locate the Cold Marrow Abyss. Time was far too tight. Lu Qingxue nodded, as though she had already anticipated his reply. She pulled a hand-drawn map from her spatial ring and unfolded it between them. The Iron Thread River is deadly, but not impassable. At intervals across the river float ancient driftwood planks left behind from bygone eras. Stepping on them lets you cross safely. The catch is their positions shift randomly each time the secret realm opens, with no fixed pattern. How do we find them? Spiritual sense perception. Lu Qingxue put the map away. Ancient restrictions repel the iron thread worms beneath each driftwood plank, creating brief safe zones. If your spiritual power is strong enough, you can pick out these safe spots across the river. Chu Yin understood. The two walked east along the southern bank of the Iron Thread River for roughly 2 kilometers and found 20-odd people gathered ahead. Wang Zikai was nowhere to be seen. Li Jun's group headed straight for the narrowest stretch of the river, clearly intending to cross. One man behind him wore black mechanical armor. He wrapped his arms tightly around Li Jun, and thrusters on his back blazed with blue flame. The armor lifted into the air and soared toward the far bank. The air above the Iron Thread River roiled. Hundreds of iron thread worms shot upward from the water like black arrows aimed at the flying armor. But the armor moved too fast. The worms could only reach 10 meters high at most, while the armor flew 30 meters above the surface. The black projectiles lost momentum 20 meters short of their target and fell back into the writhing horde. In less than a minute, the armor carried Li Jun safely across and touched down on the opposite shore. Whoa! Mechanical ascension. Chu Yun stared in astonishment. Seeing Chu Yun's stunned reaction, Lu Qingxue felt both amused and exasperated. A member of the Li clan is an armorsmith. That suit is the Obsidian Mark II, an old decommissioned military model. It works for short-distance flight, but it is useless in actual combat. Why don't we get one of those? Chu Yun looked genuinely envious. Don't you know powered armor is every man's dream? Are you an armorsmith? Could you even pilot it? Lu Qingxue shot him a glance and kept observing the river. Soon Zhao Yueli arrived at the bank. She did not rush to cross. Instead, she pulled a yellowed notebook from her robes and studied one page intently for a long while. Closing the book, she walked 500 meters along the riverbank and halted at a stretch of water indistinguishable from any other. A notebook left behind by an ancestor of the Zhao clan, Lu Qingxue explained. The Zhao clan once produced a martial king who explored the Azure Ripple Water Mansion for an entire month and compiled detailed exploration notes. What Zhao Yueli holds should be a transcribed copy. Chu Yun nodded without speaking. Zhao Yueli began her crossing. She used no tools and wore no special gear. She simply removed her shoes and socks, stepping barefoot onto the first driftwood plank. Her pace was slow, every step precisely calculated. The instant her toes touched one plank, her other foot lifted, shifting her center of gravity in fractions of a second. Her black-robed female attendant followed right behind her. Thousands of driftwood planks dotted the river. Zhao Yueli stepped onto 47 planks total to reach the far side, and her attendant did the same. Right after they passed, several planks that had sunk under their weight slowly bobbed back upward. Others that had rotated gradually returned to their original angles. Someone on the shore immediately hurried forward, stepping onto the exact same planks, copying Zhao Yueli's footwork, hoping to replicate her success. He leaped onto the first plank Zhao Yueli had used. It held steady. Heartened, he moved to the second, third, fourth, then the fifth. The moment his foot landed, the plank plunged downward. No, as his right foot pressed down, the wood tilted sharply upright. He lost his balance instantly and toppled backward. Instinctively, he reached out to grab the plank. Before his fingers could make contact, countless iron thread worms shot upward, coiling around his legs. His scream lasted only 2 seconds. He was dragged down into the worm swarm. The river surface churned briefly, then calmed once more. Everyone else who had planned to follow Zhao Yueli froze on the shore, their faces drained of color. The driftwood planks have load limits, Lu Qingxue said quietly. Each secret realm opening resets those limits. Zhao Yueli crossed first, consuming part of each plank's capacity. Her attendant consumed more still. By the time others tried to follow, the weight threshold had already been exceeded. Chu Yun finished for her in a calm tone. Did you memorize the planks Zhao Yueli used? Lu Qingxue nodded. More groups kept arriving at the riverbank. Fewer and fewer untouched planks remained. Some chose to detour, turning east along the shore. Others gambled on the driftwood. Some made it safely across. Others slipped and vanished without a trace. A few tried charging straight across atop the worm bodies, yet none managed to cover even 300 meters. Gradually, only Chu Yun and Lu Qingxue remained on this side of the Iron Thread River. Lu Qingxue stood at the water's edge, her cool eyes scanning the half-visible planks spread across the river as she mapped out a crossing route. It is time to move. Not yet. Chu Yun did not stir. He tore his gaze from the river and fixed it on a seemingly empty stretch of boulders to the west. Someone else is still hiding here. Lu Qingxue frowned and followed his line of sight. There is no one there, she stated with certainty. The boulder field lay empty, save for a few withered weeds swaying in the wind. She extended her senses over the area and detected nothing, only shallow water reflecting the Palasine skylight. Chu Yun's gaze remained nailed to that spot. No point hiding anymore. Come out, Wang Zikai. Lu Qingxue's pupils constricted sharply. Still she perceived no trace of anyone, even pushing her senses to their limit. Nothing but gentle ripples on the water and the distant rustle of writhing worms. What are you talking about? Lu Qingxue lowered her voice. Nobody is there. The instant her words ended, the supposedly empty boulder field shifted as though an invisible curtain had been pulled aside. The air twisted violently. A figure stepped out from thin air. Wang Zikai. One hand rested in his pocket, a cold smirk playing across his face. For Wang clan bodyguards lined up behind him. How did you spot me? Wang Zikai raised an eyebrow, genuine surprise in his tone. This is my clan's ancestral Shadow Veil cloak, a Grandmaster-grade concealment treasure. It perfectly masks both vital energy and spiritual fluctuations. He had planned to ambush Chu Yun halfway across the river and finish him off with a spear strike. Even if witnesses saw something, he could blame the attack on the Iron Thread worms. Not even Song Qingtian would be able to hold him accountable for that. Vital energy and spiritual power can be hidden, but your killing intent cannot, Chu Yun said flatly. No one else bears such murderous hostility toward me besides you. Besides, even if you were the first to enter the secret realm, you could never have crossed the Iron Thread River so quickly. You either hid yourself or took the long detour. To be honest, I was not entirely certain. I was just bluffing. He shrugged. I did not expect you to take the bait so readily. Wang Zikai's expression hardened for a heartbeat. Then he laughed. Chu Yun, you are the first person who has ever dared speak to me like this. He stepped forward 2 paces, ripples spreading across the shallow water beneath his feet. I would truly love to split open your skull and see what goes on inside that head of yours. Rest assured, I will not kill you quickly. I will make you experience true despair. Lu Qingxue moved instantly to stand in front of Chu Yun. A thin layer of frost condensed across her open palm. Wang Zikai. Chu Yun has joined the military. He was personally recruited by Chief Song. To harm him is to defy the entire Zhongzhou military. Qingxue, this has nothing to do with you. Wang Zikai cut her off, his tone softening abruptly. This is between him and me. Step aside, and I will not hurt you. Lu Qingxue refused to yield an inch. The frost on her palm thickened. The air temperature plummeted more than 10 degrees, and the shallow water at their feet began to ice over. You refuse to move? Wang Zikai's smile faded, malice flashing in his eyes. Then do not blame me for being ruthless. He waved one hand. He Chong. The bodyguard who had stood silently at the back of the group stepped forward. Around 40 years old, ordinary-looking and of average build, he was the sort of man who blended into any crowd. The moment he took his first step, Chu Yun's pupils contracted. He had felt this exact aura only once before, when standing close to Zhou Yan. A great grandmaster. Vital energy exceeding 100,000. This was the private asset Zhao Yueli had alluded to. The Wang clan had convinced a great grandmaster to suppress his own cultivation and enter the Azure Ripple Water Mansion, sacrificing his martial art prospects, all for the sake of dealing with Chu Yun. You went to quite some lengths. Chu Yun's voice stayed steady, yet his back tensed. He moved to shield Lu Qingxue behind him. You brought a great grandmaster with suppressed cultivation just to get to me? Kill you? You are not worthy of that honor, Wang Zikai replied calmly. Cripple his hands and feet. I want to deal the final blow myself. Lu Qingxue's face paled. A great grandmaster. Even with his cultivation suppressed, he remained a great grandmaster. His battle experience, reflexes, and and mastery of martial arts far outmatched an 18-year-old youth. She tried to speak again, but Chang struck. No fancy stances, no surging vital energy pressure, not even a battle cry. He simply took one step toward Chu Yun. The ground cracked, water splashing everywhere. He covered 30 meters in a single stride. The true essence of a great grandmaster's martial arts unfolded before them. Returning to simplicity, the ultimate path stripped of pretense. His right fist surged forth from his waist. Compressed air condensed into a thin white mist coating his knuckles, forming a visible membrane of force. The punch made no sound, no gust of wind, not even a whisper. It moved too fast. The air had no time to resonate before it was torn apart. Chu Yun's pupils dilated. His great mentorgrade spiritual sense locked onto the fist's trajectory, yet raw speed and power rendered foresight meaningless. Predicting a strike was not the same as being able to dodge it. This punch sealed off every possible evasive path. I cannot evade it. The thought flashed through Chu Yun's mind. Even so, his body reacted instantly. A sharp glint flashed in his eyes. Instead of retreating, he advanced and met the blow with his own fist. Boom! The instant their fists collided, a dull, thunderous detonation burst forth. Overwhelming force crashed through Chu Yun's right arm. His entire limb went numb, and he slid backward 7 or 8 meters across the shallow water, gouging 2 deep furrows in the riverbed. The silver scale armor lit up with a silvery light barrier, absorbing most of the impact. Chang, meanwhile, stood firm as bedrock. Only his striking hand trembled almost imperceptibly, and a flicker of surprise crossed his eyes. He narrowed his gaze and closed the distance once more like a ghost. His left hand shot forward like a venomous snake, fingers splayed to seize Chu Yun's throat. Chu Yun leaned backward. The claw grazed a single millimeter above his chin, its fierce wind stinging his skin. Chang followed with a third blow, driving his knee like a heavy hammer toward Chu Yun's abdomen. Chu Yun crossed his arms to block the impact. Bang! The violent recoil sent him flying backward again. He used the momentum to create distance between himself and Chang. Regaining his footing, Chu Yun drew a deep breath. Though uninjured, he had completely lost control of the fight's rhythm. This was the power of a great grandmaster. Even confined to martial master peak realm, without deploying any special techniques, he dominated opponents of equal rank through nothing but battle-hardened instinct and absolute command over combat tempo. Not bad. Chang stayed where he was, making no immediate pursuit. Surprise colored his tone. You took 3 of my strikes without sustaining injury. You do possess some skill.